Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. This. Oop. There we go. Luckless Burrito, how you doing? Welcome, everybody. This is the Office Hours live stream. This is a live stream where I talk about the news and stuff. We'll talk a little bit about this already. Hold on. Hello and welcome to the AstroPub. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar thing at Twitch. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. How you doing? Darsh, Rig, Silky, North. How y'all doing? Escape. Hey, Mr. Hyde's Monster. Thank you so much for that VIP, that Ultra VIP membership. How you doing, buddy? That big bucks. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. So let's do that. Ultra VIP member on YouTube. Thank you for that. So I'm going to do something which is going to be kind of weird. I'm going to be doing 2 office hours, kind of like capsules. One of which is going to be, if you follow me, and I think the majority of the community kind of understands this, it's going to sound kind of condescending. It's not really meant to. It's meant more for education, because I believe that there's a large number of people in the community who are brand new and haven't really, maybe even only a few months into the game or into the community, who don't really know how roadmap roundups and roadmap updates work. Because, I mean, if you only came in the last 6 months, I don't think there's been many at all in terms of like adding new features to a patch. The last time we had anything like this was 3.17.2, which was June, July of last year. So, hey, thank you for that $10 on top of that. Long time no see, Paul. Glad to see you. Can't wait for a great video. Ultra VIP to support the great content. Thank you. We're also, it's a big one. And Scape became a VIP. Thank you so much, Scape, for becoming a VIP on YouTube. Hey, a tip.
Mr. Hyde, super chatted $10. Long time no see, Paul. Glad to see you. Can't wait for a great video. Ultra VIP to support a great content creator.
Thank you. But so if you're watching this and you're like, why is Paul making a 5-hour video? I'm not. This is a live stream. I don't know how long it's going to be. It tends to be between 3 and 5 hours. But we do this every Thursday. Not every Thursday. We do it on Thursdays. Usually around 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, to just kind of hang out and talk about the news, the lore. We go over a bunch of other stuff like that. So, but anyways, there is more than a little bit of confusion, I think, and I'm going to bank some of the responses I saw on like, what was it, on Spectrum. The majority of them under this kind of category of new people who haven't really kind of figured out how CIG does updates now. Fighting's been tough. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there is currently a bug in 3.18 PTU where the medical guns and the tractor beams can now work in armistice zones. Yeah, it says it's top of known bugs, known issues, Starsh. You look at the actual feature, or the actual what is it? Patch notes. It says known issues. It's Thunderdome. Yes, this is known issue, so it's definitely trying to be fixed. I mean, there's a simple solution to it. Unless you're already in a group, if you try to med somebody, you'll get a prime stat. X1 this year, they said it? I don't know if they said X1 this year. I did see someone comment on my last video, one of my last videos, that it's been on the progress tracker. I haven't seen it on the progress tracker, though. Yeah, it should be elevated up to CS3. Yeah, I mean, I know the answer is like, oh, well, that's way too high. That's like a murder charge. It's like, yeah, well, it's the only way you're going to get people to not do it. If you really want people to use tractor beams and such like that in the armistice zone. Hey, Shemp. This is the reason why the CS system is utter garbage. It's too arbitrary and not flexible enough. Like I said, it's a bug. They know it's a bug. It's in known features. Or known issues. No, known features. But for the moment, embrace the chaos, my brothers. Meds for the med god, boxes for the box throne. Nanomachines, son. That is true. For those of you who don't know, the med guns work on nanotech. Those like nanites or nanomachines that are being injected into your body. Because what's happening is the medicine is carried by nanomachines, so that's what the actual like beam is. The beam is sending those nanomachines to your body, and then the nanomachines will then get into your body through pores and such like that and deliver the medicine. Hey, Mountain Doobie. Hey, 1D. Oh, GR, that is the drug. This is not the first time this has happened. When it was first introduced, people were doing it all the time to jack people's gear. They'd OD them and take their stuff. So nano fishing beams? Well, no. The beams themselves are just tractor beams. What the tractor beams carry is nanomachines. But it's still a tractor beam. It's just that would be used for fishing. Fly safe. Stay packing heat. Gotta be strong drugs if nanoliters if nanoliters heal you. It's just a lot of nanites. That's what it is. Remember all the people getting drugged up and kidnapped to then be extorted for money. Yep. I mean, when cutting beams were first released, they were killers. You could kill someone in like 3 seconds with a cutting beam. Could we theoretically use a medical beam like a multi-tool tractor beam attachment? Probably not, because the actual strength of the beam is super low compared to the the tractor beam, or to the other one, because it's only delivering small numbers and small weight in comparison. What surprised me, Paul, is the Spirit A1 is the first one being developed further than the C1 currently. A lot of our predictions was the C1 would be the first. Do you think this is because of the tractor beam? Probably not. The tractor beam is in active development. We've seen that in the last update. We know that it's in active development. They're currently working on, like, how does the tractor beam tech, well, how will the gameplay function for it? I think the reason why you see the E1 and the A1 being worked on is that the A1's bombs have been developed for almost a year now. And the E1 is just, it's nothing. It's just seats inside of a ship. So the C1 being a cargo is probably not being worked on as much because it's so simple. And we actually don't know, because I don't think they've even mentioned the C1. They could have the C1 in a much better position than we already know, but we don't know. Question, do you think 318 will actually make it to Wave 3 over this weekend? Yeah, I think it'll probably make it to Wave 3 tomorrow. Drinkmaster, Mixmaster with the E1? No, I don't think it has a Mixmaster on it. Multi-tool does have a medical attachment. It does, but that's separate from the tractor beam attachment. Question, will we see a Crusader E-warship? I don't know. Spirit EW? I don't know. Yeah, because I don't think the tractor beam is a huge deal, because as long as they can get gimbaled it to work gimbaled wise in terms of how it loads onto the stuff, it's probably not going to be that much of an issue. But the A1 certainly is getting priority because the size 3 bombs have been in development and have been working for quite a long time. Yeah, that's also another case, is the A1 works perfectly for Invictus. Since the medical system in Star Citizen is based off the American medical system, do you think if you haven't died too long, they'll require you to get a colonoscopy? Probably. I think it's a misnomer to say that the Star Citizen medical system is based off the American medical system. I think it's probably closer to the British or the Canadian health system. Because as far as we can tell, there is a universal healthcare system that exists in the UEE. It's called Empire Health. But it's garbage. It's rat's ass. It's terrible. So it's very, like, low. It's overwhelmed. That kind of thing. And that seems to be where CIG's giving themselves an escape hatch, so that they can be like, listen, if a player is broke as shit, they can still go to Empire Health. They're going to get absolute shit service, and their IVS store is going to suck ass, but they won't charge them anything. I imagine the tractor beam's beam gimbal will work exactly like the preliminary salvage beam gimbal. Yeah, it's not new technology for CIG. I hear widescreen / ultra widescreen support has been fixed. Is this coming in 318? Not a clue. UI has been, at least. There's some issues still? Okay. butthole camera gameplay in Star Citizen confirmed. Oh, thanks for that. It's a work in progress. Okay. Like with the weather effects on visor and on arm armor floating oddly. Oh. Smash has just got a 49-inch widescreen, and it seems to be working for her in 318. Yeah, but like I can't get my scale. I can't scale to widescreen from my my 1440p monitor. It doesn't even scale to 1440p on my end. I'm dying for medical stuff in game, like the medical armor they promised, the Apollo, and hopefully a medical variant of the Valkyrie. I think CIG is holding off on a lot of that stuff because they're trying to focus everything on the main gameplay features. So salvage, mining, cargo, bounty hunting. They're really bearing down on that. And the kind of people who would be working on that medical system are currently working on the multi-crew stuff. So, and the flight mechanics. So I think a lot of that stuff is very much kind of restricted by CIG's current goals. We don't even have what is it called? Oh, I lost my brain. My brain flew away. It's no longer here. That's why I take in tomorrow off of work. First time catching the stream. Are there any other ship companies that you believe we'll see, Paul? Hard to tell. Oh, drones. That's what I was going to say. That's why we haven't even seen drones. Because, like, when we start to see drones being worked on, that's when we'll start seeing the Apollo getting considerations. Bye, brain. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see new spaceship manufacturer companies. It's really up to CIG. CIG has a lot of manufacturer companies as it is. I don't see them adding more. I see them more fleshing out the range they have now. Like, for instance, Consolidated Outland has 3 or 4 ships. It has the Nomad, the Hover Quad, the Mustang, and the Pioneer, and that's it. Kruger only has 2. They're technically the same ship. Alpha releases are about proving what features can work, not about putting them where they belong. That's not what CIG is doing, though. I'm trying to calculate, say what you're saying. Like, I know what you're implying and what you're saying, but CIG is, and I am not kidding you, and this is not something that I am making up. CIG considers Star Citizen a released game. Legally, on the record, they have said that. There is a legal court document because someone sued them about not meeting their expectations, and CIG went to court arguing that Star Citizen has met all of its expectations for backers of the Kickstarter, and won their case. So, CIG legally considers itself a released game, and they've even said multiple times that they're trying to treat the game as if it is a released game in terms of content, features, and updates, while also calling it an alpha. So, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. And as a result, you're going to get shit like, they're going to try to get stuff in so that backers can have access to those things, even though they should just be throwing stuff out and make to see if it works and continue to move on. Which is why Star Citizen is taking much longer than it should be in a typical development timeline, because they're trying to build the game. They're trying to build the plane while flying it. After a deep dive, I'll go back a little bit. As you see the Mexican Super Bowl, yeah, the Aztecas Deportes, their video using the Galaxy. Woo! I actually reached out to some CIG members. They laughed and they're like, "Yeah, we already told legal." So I'm sure Azteca is getting a very interesting worded letter to their legal team. My guess is nothing will be done, but Azteca will offer an apology and or will pay to settle any kind of possible lawsuits. Because to be fair to Azteca, this probably had nothing to do with them. They probably hired an ad firm and said, make it look cool, and nobody checked them. Because, you know, why? It's just a small ad saying we're going to be covering the Super Bowl. Well, I mean, it's Azteca's fault, not the ad firm's fault. They're the one who broadcasted illegally, so. Yeah, but it's also for a huge TV show. That's true. This would be like ESPN using the privateer, the Kraken in a commercial. Yeah, it would there would be words. They have 1.2 million subs. Yeah, and it's almost certainly broadcast as well. I'm sure it wasn't just on YouTube. After deep dive in the Apollo, I realized it will be nothing like a flying. It will be nothing like a flying clinic. It will not be useful for teams like MedRunner. There are no drop seats for team members. There are no drop seats for team members who will be wearing heavy armor. It's a flying clinic. It's a MASH unit, not an emergency runner. It's not an ambulance. It's designed to sit just behind the lines and do recovery. It's not designed as a rapid response. Question, do you think Montreal building ships is primarily for modular ships, since that seems to be their expertise? I have no idea. All I know, yeah, that's the other news, is that one of the major senior ship designers for Manchester has been asked to move to Montreal to start a ship team in Montreal. So I follow a bunch of CIG developers on Twitter and such, and they're talking about, hey, it's exciting, but I've never been outside of the UK. So it was like, oh, it's nice. I always thought it'd be cool to see a Star Citizen air during the Super Bowl. No, that would be stupid. It would be absolutely stupid. It's a pissing contest. Advertisements of the Super Bowl, they don't actually give you any kind of. They're not worth the money you have to pay for them. You bring patients to the Apollo, yeah. Saber Comet, and other ships were pulled from in-game purchase. Thoughts? I believe it was causing too many bugs. After they took them out, parts of the game ran smoother to me. I have no idea. I haven't been paying attention to all of the ships that were pulled out, other than the ones that were added that they then pulled out that were. There was some controversy on it, and I am of the opinion. I have never shirked from this opinion. I believe CIG is making a mistake by trying to stage the release with what they call their cadence for release for ships, because I think it creates a FOMO marketing, and I'm not a big fan of FOMO marketing. I don't think it works very well. I think it sets it artificially inflates numbers, but doesn't actually give you long-term stability. And I'm sure I already can see people say, but Paul, you're wrong because they've made all this money. My point is, I think they could be making more money if they made these ships available all the time for purchase, because that's not necessarily FOMO as much as it is like impulse buying, which sounds bad, but it's the kind of concept where if you're playing a game and you enjoy it and it's free to play, you're much more willing to put in a couple of bucks if you want to continue to enjoy for some skins or for some slight buffs for whatever. That kind of concept. which I think most people are more than willing to participate in and are okay with in a game if it's fun and it gives you the option to do that. The Star Citizen is in that weird position where it doesn't have a publisher, so there's like some things that even I'm like, I'm okay with it because it's kind of an indie game. Yes, it's made millions of dollars, but you know, there's plenty of indie games that do some kind of borderline stuff because they got to keep the lights on. So I'm not too concerned about it. But at the same time, CIG put it in 318 and they took it out. I think it's a bad move. I think they would have gained so much goodwill if they just released the Corsair, the C8, and the Cutter with 318. It literally costs them nothing, and they would have gotten some goodwill, especially after the longest PTU in Star Citizen's history. So. I know Benoit wants to make a Montreal studio, a large one that works on everything, like the Manchester office, so that's good to hear. Yeah. Yes, I saw the Super Bowl Out of the Galaxy. We were talking about it earlier. Hey, Astro, are there any slur terms used against the Banu, i.e. Halo Marines calling Covenant split lips? Not the Banu. The Duel have they just call them the Duel, as far as I know. I have to look up the terms, the slang terms for Star Citizen. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there's some mentions of the Banu and other things like that, but people just forget that the in-game shop release for ships was always on a patch number than a regular than actually monthly time. Yeah, it's usually a patch after the fact, but Montreal making ships. Will we have 5 new ships every quarter? I mean, question: is it worth investing in an Apollo medivac since the 600i Explorer rework may not have respawnable medical beds? That's up to you. If you want to do medical, if you honestly want to do medical gameplay, then yes, the Apollo is always going to be a better ship for medical gameplay than a non-medical ship. Like, for instance, the Cutlass Red, even though it's only tier 3 medical bed, will always be a better medical ship than any other ship with a tier 3 medical bed that's not the Red, even the C8, because the other thing that people forget is storage. Right now, we have infinite medical supplies. Eventually, those medical supplies will have to be stocked constantly in those beds to make them work, which will be expensive and, of course, time-consuming, as well as, you have to manage it and balance it. But things like the Cutlass Red are designed to hold absolutely gigantic amounts of medical supplies because that's their job. And I'm sure the same thing is going to happen with the Apollo. So it's up to you. If you are doing medical stuff, invest in the Apollo. That's just that. It's the thing you want to do that. True, if they were on sale constantly, then the gray market ships wouldn't sell as many. Yeah, so they'd be making more money, and more people who would be like, "Hey, I'm willing to purchase this Super Hornet, even though it's out of season. I have the money now. They may not have the money when it comes out." But when I first got introduced to the game, I was going to buy 600i, 100i, but I couldn't. And it really turned me off initially. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Do you think the Liberator will have some kind of enjoyable loop, or just FOMO ship for Pyro? I think it's a FOMO ship for Pyro. I've been a big kind of, I guess, cheerleader, proponent of the Liberator, because the Liberator's gameplay is designed for moving ships and vehicles. And because most ships the size that the Liberator moves do not have the gas to make it through a place like Pyro, they will definitely have good use. It's just not going to be obvious. It's kind of like the same role as the Hercules, only on a larger scale. So instead of carrying cargo, you're carrying vehicles, which like the Hercules does. But now you're carrying also ships. So it's kind of like that extreme ends right now of the ship carrier versus the other end of, which is the cargo carrier, which is like the whole series. So it's that kind of stuff. And how long did it take for the Scorpius to be released in game? I think 6 months. I feel like CIG absolutely, it does absolutely nothing for, this would be nice to give the community, let's just give it to them. They do not do that nearly as much. And I think that's a mistake. I think CIG could easily get more take their mistakes and turn them into wins. Take the fumbles and turn them into W's, but CIG is allergic to W's sometimes. What's the Super Bowl? It's a giant bowl of that's infused with super serum. I don't know. Workers of the UAE unite. Ooh woo. United Workers Union. Ooh woo. We should make Astro some really, stick it to them slurs for the Banu, something the pointy heads or something. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if I'd have to come up with ones, it would be, it'd probably be, salt licks or, twigs. How do you feel about 319 being the Invictus patch? I mean, I said that 318.1 was going to come out before 319, and I'm right. Which, I said the same thing about 318. I said 318 was going to be delayed until, or that Salvage was going to be delayed until the fall, and or the fall kind of like end of the year patch around CitizenCon, and I was sort of right. It was delayed till that point, but instead of it being pulled out of 318, they just moved 318 to then. Same kind of thing. In 2021, Texas blackout, 4.5 minutes saved Texas from having to start power grids from a zero process known as the black start. That taking months. Taking months. I wonder what silent heroes of Star Citizen exist in lore. There's a lot, actually. And yes, I did in fact name it your mama. Oh, you're Carrick, right? I forgot about that. You're now a Carrick Karen. 600 High fanboys type O in the chat. The 600 is a great ship. It's not a bad ship. I just want the cargo variant, the OG 600. No problem, buddy. The 600i is still a beautiful and very nice ship. Beautiful and very nice ship, but both are just would be if you want to help the people, help yourself. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. CG loves its FOMO sales. I think they're mistakes. I understand, and to a degree, I'm okay with things like limited LTI FOMO sales because LTI is garbage and no one should care. And you can still do that, but I think there's a difference between I want this ship and I want this ship because it has special super meaningless insurance attached to it. It's a shitty sales tactic, but I'm okay with a shitty sales tactic versus a literal, like, psychological manipulation. Well, that's kind of all sales are, but... Nah, I don't think Star Citizen's funding is based off of FOMO. I think that's a misreading of it. It's like, that's the point where you're calling everything FOMO. And I've seen that happen before too. People are like, oh, FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. FOMO means fear of missing out. The concept that if you don't jump in right now, then you will be missing out on something that's important. Star Citizen doesn't really do that and actively goes out of its way to try to tell you that it is still in development at every stage of the purchase. There's no, you got to jump in now because things are changing. CIG doesn't really do that. The things that they are most guilty of with FOMO has to do with their sales, with the specific sales at specific times. That's, and of course the concept sales and that kind of thing. FOMO of prices going up. I don't necessarily, CIG doesn't constantly talk about prices going up though. That doesn't tend to be in their marketing. LTI, I don't think, so here's the thing about LTI. CIG has consistently said LTI doesn't mean anything, that it's not a big deal, and they've been saying that for years. But at a certain point, they just stopped trying to explain it to people and just let people freak out about it. The concept thing is also not true, because they also do other things that are like non-concept release. But there's definitely some FOMO when it comes to the sales, like Invictus and IAE. CIG hates memes and winning. Yeah. You can fit a C8R in the Corsair. That's true, but I don't think it's going to be better than necessarily the Cutlass Red, which has 2 beds with thus more storage capacity. Superb Owl game? Yes. No, it's so slow I don't expect it to be a drop ship. I wouldn't either. Roots, salt liquors, salt licks. Because they look like giant pillars of salt, like purple salt. So what are my thoughts on crafting? I'm sure we'll get it. Based off of what I've heard from CIG, I'm not expecting you to be able to make a ship out of sticks and plywood, but you should be able to make survival stuff and then modify existing stuff. But I'm half expecting to get St. Pat's Day before sale before 318 comes out. Nah, I'm pretty sure CIG will release 318 no matter how bad it is before the St. Patrick's Day sale. Have I always had a beard? Yes, Red Burke. I jumped out. I fell out of my mom's vagina with his beard. No, I didn't always have this beard. It slowly grew when I was getting older, and eventually it's become my face. But most of the men in my family do. My dad has a beard. My grandfather had a beard. My great-grandfather had a beard. My great-great-grandfather had one of those crazy fucking beards. Like, he also had eyes like, I'm going to murder you. So, no bad nothing to Banu. I just picked up the Defender from the store since the subscribership of the month, and happy I did that. I need to wait for Alien Week, yeah. 318.1 will come out before 319 because that's how numbers work. Yeah, it will. But 319 is effectively 318.x. It's the same branch with new stuff added. Did you see the latest videos on interiors? I did, and we're going to talk about it a little bit here. Entered the giveaway, got too distracted with the convos. Well, the giveaway is at the end of the month, so you still have several weeks before you enter, but thank you for entering. Love my 600 IFY, yes. Concept sales are FOMO. I would say that they can be, for sure. But I wouldn't necessarily put them as FOMO the same way. Let me get through this. Even the game being good is manipulative. It would manipulate you into thinking the game is worth a price. That's extending that. What do you think of the new building interiors from last ISC? More waste of time development? No, it's modular. They've even talked about this. They called it the dungeon kit or something like that. The idea being that it's going to add more flavor to the universe. It also will allow them to extend the amount of missions that are available on landing zones, making landing zones a lot more accessible. And from the sounds of things, they want to make an entire ground level gameplay loop, which is pretty impressive. But the key is, will they be able to do it with tools they develop, or will they have to develop more tools? It's also Montreal, so it's hard to sell. Hurricane and Hull C have been mentioned recently by CIG as having a price hike soon. Yeah, but that's not the same as like, oh, they're gonna go up in sales. Like every time they like put them on sale. They've talked about They've talked about the price hikes, months in advance in the past. They've even said at the very beginning that the game is going to get more expensive. Their goal is to have Star Citizen be $60 when it's fully released. But I wouldn't necessarily call that FOMO, because it's not like It's not like they're saying the hurricane and the whole sea are going up soon, so here's the sale that you can get it, the last chance to buy it at this price. They don't really do that. If you pay real money for a ship, it should come with LPI. LTI. Oh, I agree. I think LTI is stupid though, because it's probably going to end up being that like that anyways. All right, I'm way far behind, so I'm just going to kind of skim through some of this. I'm sorry if I don't see it. I'd love to have multi-material 3D printers and HABs in ships, but I wouldn't expect it to go into the wilderness and make a megaphone by strapping a pine cone to a squirrel and onto a megaphone. It was fun. It was fun to watch you in real time decide to, in other words, fell out of my mom's vagina. Yeah, it was one of those, Iris, it was one of those things that I had to be like, am I going to say this on YouTube? I really hope CIG on the rework for 600i creates a customization like 300 series. I'd hope so. Ruffle your beard, my beard? Okay. It's getting longer. I'm trying to grow it out and just try to like shape it more to be like an actual like good solid beard. I got a good, handful of on there. But I'm also still trying to keep it kind of neat on my face. I don't want it to be like, bro, because if I don't really take care of it, and I end up looking like I don't even know what this is. Like whatever. I can't remember the name of it. Sounds like you grew for a hairy situation.
Hey, a tip.
Negat, superchatted $5. Every vendor I have dealt with at my job has raised their prices by 15 to 20%. SIG raises price of one ship by a few bucks and people go nuts. Dumb.
Yeah, I get why people get upset about it, but I just the kind of stuff. Thank you for that $5 say negativity. Ironic name. Sounds like you grew for a hairy situation. Paul, I hope you're okay now, though. We still love you. Would existing 890s and their Pioneers get upgraded to LTI if the price eventually raises above $1,000? No, probably not. Because CIG hates to do good things for people. As long as CIG doesn't start naming things like USB, like the USB Council. I don't know what that is. Like, I watched the, 3 separate mental checks to make sure you really wanted to say that. Hey, you know what? There's a lot of things that are just, I'm a teacher by my day job, so I have internal checks in my vocabulary often. Chat is very salty today. You all good? Need to talk it out? I don't know what chat's talking about. That's I'm kind of going through some of this stuff. At some point, the Aurora and other stars will be $60, but not yet. No, all of them will be. Like the 600, you'll effectively get either an Aurora, a 100i, a Cutter, a Mustang, or probably not a Reliant, but that kind of thing. Burnside beard, I guess so. Cthulhu, yeah. Cthulhu is the one, but there's a D&D monster that I'm forgetting that has the like squid face. What do you think the whole sea is going up in price? Almost certainly Invictus. We talk about how hilarious that AI can throw grenades. Oh, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. Okay, my chat's freaking out. I can't even catch up with chat. I'm just going to go up there. Mind flayers, thank you. All right, I have not... My chat is so far behind, I'm not able to read everyone's messages, and everything's going, so I'm just going to go to the top. If you said something I didn't respond to it, I'm sorry. Blame technology. Everything is going at like 2 frames. It's like I'm on a CIG server right now, how bad this chat's going. Yeah, mind flayers. I am pro Cthulhu, yes. Paul's secretly great old one, canon. Are we going to see a cargo auto-load system for mega ships like the Whole Sea? We're going to see a cargo auto-loading system for every ship. What's going to determine what that cargo loading system is will be where you are, and that'll determine the time it will take to load it. If you are in a kind of a settled system like Stanton, it might be done by a combination of some workers and some equipment, and thus will be much faster. But if you're in a place like Pyro and you hire people, you hire someone to kind of load your ship, it might just be done by pure manual labor and, handheld tractor beams. So those sorts of things will happen. That'll be the choice where you either hire a crew to load it for you and you get a timer and you have to wait, or you can load it yourself and possibly be faster. See, I'm actually considering we've been getting these flyers in the mail for a long time about true, fiber internet offered by third-party services I've never heard of, and I'm always wary about it because they have no name recognition. But at this point, they're offering 2-year services for $50 a month for 1,000 down for like a gig down and a gig up. Gig down and a gig up. And I'm like, that's $25 cheaper than my crappy internet right now. I might take that up. There's no Google Fiber in where I am. Google Fiber is only in a very small section of Austin, and it's not the section I live in. Illithid, thank you, Caper. We really need one. We really need one for salvage ships, salvage bays. Well, we kind of do. Bandwidth is precious. Do you think player housing will be a cop-out for base building? No, they'll still do base building, but CIG has always talked about the idea, and this is Chris Roberts' kind of megalomaniacal idea. I don't even know how to. It's his like pie in the sky dream to be able to have like a place where you can buy and then like decorate, and that place is your home, like an apartment or a home or something like that. So that's kind of an idea was actually floated before we even had landing zone, like proper landing on planets. Base building floated after that because we actually had landing on planets. So. It's not municipal fiber, sadly, but I am a big fan of Muni fiber. I lived near Chattanooga for a very long time, and they have Muni fiber. Oh God, it's so good. Because Muni fiber is like, in Chattanooga it was like $20. $20 a month for fiber internet. It was owned by the city. It was so good. The internet connection in the States is a crapshoot because it's all done by private companies. If you live in the middle of nowhere, they just don't give a shit about you. And if you live in cities, they use the old copper system. So they have to update the systems. And if they do, then they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for it. So not every city has fiber. And those that do, it's usually only in certain areas. So. I'd like to start with an MR in the slums and eventually a big ship and a penthouse in the sky idea. I think this kind of thing happens, yeah. I got fiber from a small local pride started by folks who were waiting for big companies. Providers, not prides. Okay, yeah, I get you. There's a couple of places that are like in the area. They seem to be starting up in the area that they're trying to do it. So I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can do that because it would reduce my cost. So.
Zpill, super chatted $3.72. Nah, night shifter, just happy to catch a stream. Keep it up.
Thank you so much there, Z Pilot. Thank you for watching. Thank you for that $5 Canadian. You are very important puppers, very impressive misters, and you pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers, Jay. Shots and cheers. Twitch, Paul is just isn't an old one. He's obviously a mind flayer. Duh. Just look at his shirt. It's illithid and indigo. Yeah, I guess that's true. AT&T fiber in Austin is fantastic and pretty cheap. I have heard multiple like conflicting stuff about that. I've heard some people say it's good. I've also heard some people say it's absolute dog shit. So and night shift, baby. Rural Canada, I only have DSL. Quit complaining about fiber, you bastards. No, Z-Pilot, I'm not going to complain. I live in one of the tech capitals of the United States. I demand fiber. I do not live in rural Canada for this reason. All right, I'll be right back. Chat, if you're watching this on YouTube, just mute it until I come back because YouTube or Twitch chat's going to go crazy. Be right back.
Weapons free, y'all.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy. I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Everybody it was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
It was at this moment that
everybody
he
in his dog calls
he
himself
fucked up.
Everybody in his dog calls himself an outlaw. Everybody in his dog calls himself an outlaw.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Chat riots. I have to come back and. All right. What's happening? What you're seeing is a tradition that started somehow, and I don't know why. I have sound emotes, and those sound emotes that people can pay for on Twitch chat, they can do every so often. Just, it's little cool things like. Let me play one.
I'm fly. I'm pilot.
Or
bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Or
it was at this moment that he knew
yep.
He fucked up.
Hello, I like money.
Oh, the drug owl. Yeah, where's the drug owl?
Drugs.
There it is. And then there's the one that no one uses.
As wares, if you have coin.
So all this is just you can have that, and so chat has become a tradition where if I go AFK for a few minutes to use the restroom or get water or something like that, they just spam the hell out of it.
Drugs.
Now I'm going to turn it off because y'all start to spam it again. Round of beers. Is there even anyone here? Yeah. No, it's all just robots. We're all AI. We're all fake. Question: if resources to move were free, would you still live in Texas? Because it's not just resources. It's also, it's also jobs. Would I necessarily live in Texas? I don't know. I like it here because I like Austin. And I kind of like the vibe of the place. I've lived in Nashville. I've lived in Knoxville and Murfreesboro and Chattanooga. I've lived in California, Oakland, Berkeley, those sorts of areas. And I just didn't like any of them. Austin I like. Would I live in Dallas? Hell no. Would I live in Houston? Hell no. But Austin I like. So, like, I don't know where else I'd live. If cost wasn't an issue, I don't know. Maybe the Pacific Northwest. I do like big forests. If cost wasn't an issue and I could make any money I wanted, I'd live out in the middle of the woods with good internet access. It's a natural hedge against inflation. It's a money sink. Where I live, fiber is available 2 blocks from me, but and it has been 3 years, and they won't run it to my house. Wow. Oof. Hey, Kimmy, how you doing? Thank you for that raid, Kimmy. Welcome, everyone, from my Kimmy stream. I'd find a rocky gray beach and build a brutalist mansion on the water. Yes. All right, so I'm going to do we're going to do 2 capsules. For those of you who haven't seen me live before, I do these little things called capsules. They're small little segments that I pull out and then make them into actual videos. Because, you know, strangely enough, not everyone wants to watch a 4-hour live stream or watch the VOD of a 4-hour live stream. So this is for people who, you know, might be interested in the topic but don't necessarily get to watch the whole video. You did break the chat box there, Fishy. So, this one we're going to talk a little bit about we're going to look at the roadmap roundup, and we're going to talk about if this is a big deal or not. So we're just kind of going to go over it and try to help explain what the roadmap roundup is saying. Because I did see a lot of new people who were under the impression that 3.18 was canceled and that it's just going to be releasing 3.19, so 3.19 now, and it's not going to be releasing to Invictus, which is like, what? And I'm just, the teacher part of me is going, I think there's just some people who are confused who aren't reading the full thing or don't get the context of what's being said, because there's so much about these sorts of things that, like, literally there's an entirely different here. Do I edit my own VODs? At times. There's an entire companion guide to teaching you how to read the progress tracker and the monthly reports. Upstreams, downstreams, release view, the final review process, how it takes 2 weeks to review cards. All of these things exist. No one reads it except for like Tree and I. Naz, Tree, and I are the only ones who've read this document. So, Paul, did you get excited about Metroid Prime Remaster? It came out yesterday, or is Nintendo not your corner of tech? I mean, I was never a big fan of Metroid. I did play a lot of Nintendo when I was younger and when I was in like college and such. I've tended to drift away a lot from a lot of console games, mostly because a lot of them aren't really my style, and especially as console games have become $70, it's like, ooh, okay. Yeah, that's the other thing. Austin has a lot of they have their own tabletop convention here in Austin. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a pretty big one. Oh, my chat box doing the same thing it used to. The whole like I think y'all are 30K'ing my chat bot. All right, there we go. Captain Smith, if you're from Dallas, I pity you. Texas also doesn't have winter. That is not true. We do have winter. We have 1 week of winter in February, and every 2 years it causes massive blackouts. Hey, how you doing, Justin Hawks? Another Austinite. Dallas is better than Houston. I'll give that. Dallas is better than Houston, but god damn, you could not pay me to live in Houston. Humidity is bad as it is. I don't need to live in the devil's ass taint. I mean, it depends on where you live in Texas in terms of houses. My house was about $250,000, which is fairly cheap for Austin, probably a little bit more expensive than typically in Texas, but your most houses in Texas are going to go over 100,000, probably closer to 200,000, especially if you're living in the larger cities. Oh, Waco. Oh. But my family's from Texas. My grandmother was born in Texas. My mom was raised in Texas. My mom went to Stephen F. Austin University. So Stephen F. My cousin went to UT. I think he went to A&M. My other cousin. But my family hates UT, which is why I have to root for them. So yeah. So I've got family connections here too. Air Starlink isn't half bad for internet in the woods. Yeah, but it's not quite the upload speeds of the issue. That's me, middle of the woods, 1,000 in. With good Wi-Fi? Not necessarily Wi-Fi, but just internet connection. Whatever acid is great. You know you're speaking to Texans because they all think the rest of Texas sucks. Except for their part of Texas. Except for the people in the Panhandle. We don't talk to the people from Amarillo. I don't even know if they exist. Buster is the only one I know who's born and raised in the Panhandle. Listen, and Houston's not so bad compared to freaking Corpus Christi. Holy shit. The only thing that's in Corpus Christi is drugs and oil. Yeah, I edit 95% of my vids. There's only one video series that I don't edit, and I don't do a lot of the shorts for my Captain Stable of shorts. I actually have an editor for it, but yes, I do edit almost all my vids. All right, I'm gonna do this video real quick. I don't know what you're confused about. Am I? I think my chat's broken. Hold on. Wind farms are in the north. Does Crucible also have wind farms? Probably does. Okay, I'll restart my chat. I think y'all broke my chat bot. I'm trying to be like, what the hell is going on? As someone who was born and raised in Cali, and in like San Francisco, Captain Smith, it is very much not Cali. It's Cali in terms of like, there's a lot of people who are from Cali who've been down here, and it's very tech oriented. But there are far more guns in Austin than people may realize. I saw Burks was moving to Austin. I don't disagree. I think even Board would disagree. The issue is the way that Board works and the way that Board's content is done has a lot more to do with the algorithm. The algorithm is much more likely to pick up his content and push it to people who are looking for news for Star Citizen. As a result, he has to make it all the time to get people to look at him, and thus he's going to grow better, even if the average person doesn't follow all of Board's content. What's wrong with guns? California, it could be a problem. In California, if you own if your gun has a scope on it, it becomes a scary assault rifle because, like, most people in urban California have never even held a firearm, let alone seen one outside of like a movie. YouTube algorithm sucks, forcing videos to a certain length, even if they're way better longer. But the algorithm demands shortness. Yeah, it depends. There are different algorithms for different people. The reality is that the most common algorithm that people get picked up in is the shorter one that allows you for like 10-minute videos and stuff like that. How do I feel about the salty callouts in the Star Citizen Live? They were done in good jest. The thing is that none of those people would have felt comfortable calling a Mike out if they hadn't met or known Mike or follow Mike's content. It is a tradition, if you follow Salty Mike, to bully Salty Mike in his own channel. Just with a light touch. It is also tradition in my chat to bully me whenever I misspell something or say something incorrect. I did watch Mike to it, Mike react to it. Guns are expensive and I got a ship habit to feed. All right, so we're going to do a quick overview of the roadmap roundup. No, we haven't done it yet. I'm going to do a quick review of the roadmap roundup. We're going to talk about the ISC, and then we're going to move on to the monthly report. So we've got lots of news. So this roadmap roundup, for those of you who haven't seen the capsule before, I'm just going to do them as if I'm talking to the camera. You all can chat, but if you have questions, I am not going to react to those questions or to your comments until after I'm done with the recording. So, bully! Yes, I love that term. Because it's that capsule. Yes, a capsule. All right. I'm reacting to you now, Black. How you doing, Black Intellect? Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. Capsule. This is a small segment of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can see right here, here's chat, both YouTube and Twitch. Say hello, chat. They'll probably lie to you and say this is pre-recorded or something. But today, we're going to talk a little bit of the sections of one of the latest news, the Roadmap Roundup. This is one section of this live stream. So if you would like to come down, join us live on Thursdays at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub or youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive. You can come join chat and then join the discussions. We do this, we watch ISC, we check other things, but not all of it necessarily gets put into these small little capsules. So come join us live. And while you're here, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell icon to be notified when these are released and when I go live. That being said, let's look at the first Roadmap Roundup of the 2023. What year is it? 2023. Yes, 2023. All right. Roadmap Roundup 2023. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the Roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you more insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup, CIG Community Team. Notable changes for February 8th, 2023, Alpha 319. The upcoming release of Alpha 318 brings important advancements to the technology behind Star Citizen. The highlight of this update is the persistent entity streaming, which represents a monumental effort from our engineering teams. We are eager to share this update with more players soon and are thrilled about improvements it will bring. To ensure server and client stability in Alpha 318, both before and after launch, our team has decided to extend the 318 branch for an extra patch cycle. This will allow us to address any issues that may arise. As a result, the next update following the release of Alpha 318 will come before Invictus launch week and will feature a variety of new and exciting content you can read about below. Although this update is designated Alpha 319, it will be built in the Alpha 318 codebase. For some context, this isn't new. CIG does this quite frequently. They've done it with most recently with 316, was built off of the 315 codebase. And I think 2 or 3 years ago, I think 3.5 was built off the 3.4 code base. They usually do this when they're kind of rushed, when they want to get through, or when they are adding things and they want to keep the stability of the previous patch going. Because usually if they have like a nice stable sort of thing. So it is still 319. It's still going to add new content. It's just not a brand new branch of the code, is all that it means. So to answer everyone's burning questions about that, it's not new, and no, CIG's numbering system doesn't have any purpose at all. It makes no sense. It has no consistency. It's just how CIG works. Our production teams are currently evaluating the feasibility of integrating originally planned 319 content into the Alpha 318 branch. The items we are adding to the release view today are subject to change and additions. Nonetheless, we wanted to share our tentative goals as of now, with potentially more updates, changes, and additions coming in the roadmap updates ahead. So, this first round of information we're getting at 319, this will expand over time. So as they confirm, I think it's something like 65% or something like that, for confirmations, like 65% sure that it will make it in, is when they add it to the release view. And even then, it's not guaranteed until it's committed, which is like 80 to 100% committed to, or like sure on that. Release view. The following cards have been added to Alpha 319 column on release view. Loreville Cityscape. Reworking the Loreville skyline to better fit the scale of the city and its distinctive buildings. Okay, it's pretty fast. New player experience. An initiative for improving the initial first 30 minutes gameplay experience, which will help players understand the context of the world and introduce them to some of Star Citizen's basic features. This update focuses on the experience in Area 18 and Bikini Point. That's faster than I thought, especially since the new interaction system isn't coming in 319 as far as I know. That's a later addition, which will fundamentally change how things work. Maybe they're making it more flexible, Now, for those of you who haven't been following along, CIG has said that last year increased like massive numbers of active players. Something was peaking at something close to like 500,000 people, or was it 50,000? I can't remember. It was a lot of people were no, it couldn't have been 500,000. It's got to be like 50,000. There was a lot of people who were playing Star Citizen, much more than they had in the past. And this is what drove them to making the new player experience. But I'm surprised it's getting this quick, going out this quickly. And for those of you who are wondering, because I've heard some people kind of make snark comments about like, oh, this is just going to be some tool tips. No, I've talked about to Dave Haddock, the lead writer, narrative lead for CIG, and talked about this very specific thing on my other channel, The Astro Historian. I'll put the link up there to that video if you want to watch it. And he talked about the thing they were struggling with, and this was back in fall, was trying to introduce people into the universe using this experience without being too gamey. So this is not just some tooltips. This is going to be kind of like a mini tutorial of some cases, especially since it says Area 18 and Bikini Point. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. New missions, salvage contracts. With more civilian access to salvage ships, contract brokers are offering salvage jobs for derelicts around Lagrange points around Stanton. These brokers charge a fee for their services, so this will require some buy-in, but the contractors are free to keep any salvage material for resale. They talked about this in the Star Citizen Live. They also talked about it in the monthly report, which we talked about recently. I just released it the other day, but it was we recorded it last office hours. So there's also another thing that they don't have here, which is similar, but for mining. So it'll be interesting if that also is going to be added or not, but it's hard to tell. New missions, Ghost Hollow PvP mission. Adding a new mission type to the Ghost Hollow point of interest in the Stanton system, making use of the comm array as well as the AI nav mesh. This mission will create PvP encounters where players will need to fight for control of terminals for a chance at big credit payouts. That's interesting. It's something that I think people have floated before, the idea of controlling an area and getting a lot of money for just controlling an area. If you've played games like the life simulation mods for Arma, they had something similar where if you controlled an area, you'd get a cut of the sales of certain stuff throughout the entire mission. So that's an interesting addition as well. Kind of like a mini jump town that doesn't require as much like sales of stuff. So, well, it's interesting to see that. Plus, it's mentioning AI nav mesh, so there's probably some AI buy-in as well. Progress tracker. Due to some format changes to the data we use for Progress Tracker, our update to both upstream and downstream teams in 2023 needs a bit more time to get sorted. You can expect these updates to come in subsequent publishes. That's all this week. You can join the discussion on Spectrum and check out the Roadmap Companion Guide for more information about Star Citizen Public Roadmap. Now, here's another thing. This right here, I'm not going to go through all of it, but this is something if you really want to learn about the roadmap and how it works. This is a great little guide. It talks to you about what the Progress Tracker does, what a deliverable is. It'll tell you all the little details, like how to read it, how you navigate through things, and the difference between upstream and downstream teams, even listing the upstream and downstream teams. Obviously, the upstream teams being the ones that create content, like tools, and the downstream team being the teams that actually turn those tools into gameplay. So, all of these sorts of things. So it's a very good read if you're interested in how to read the roadmap going forward. So, and it's always linked at the bottom of every roadmap roundup. So definitely check that out if you're more interested in that. So overall, is this doom and gloom? Are we only going to get 3 or 4 features in 3.19 because it's going to be just 3.18.x patch? I think it's just a little overblown, that reaction, but we will know more every 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we'll probably learn a little bit more stuff that's added, because that's how it works. Every 2 weeks, they come out with these roadmap roundups, and hopefully we'll know a little bit more about progress trackers by then as well. But so far, that seems pretty interesting. That's pretty big. Lorville being replaced with just before Invictus, which is in May. The new salvage missions, a new PvP mission, and the new kind of a tutorial, only an art corp, but tutorial, which is very it's an interesting bag so far. I'm looking forward to see more. But I, of course, want to know your thoughts on any of this. Is this terrible? Are you absolutely upset that you're getting nothing from 319? Did this help you at all? Did this help you kind of help read it a little bit or give you that information? I'd like to know those things in your comments below, because that's how I know if these videos are worth it. And of course, you can always join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub, AstroPubLive on Thursdays, and come join the conversation. But until then, like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. A lot of confidence built. Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, if you read the monthly report there, Max, the monthly report has a lot. I was paused for a little bit because I was letting it all roll out. If you read the monthly report, CIG seems to be heavily focusing on missions this year. This year is a big mission year. It also seems to be the year for gameplay loops. The one thing I am a little concerned about is this seems to scream 320. I mean, I thought we might get a 320, but I'm a little... I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Like, we'll almost certainly get a 320 in like August. And it will almost certainly be all of the hardening they wanted to do. What's 4.0? Well, to be fair, if they add a bunch of the stuff that they even, like if everything in that monthly report from this past month is added to the game this year, which it won't be, you will say what's 4.0, because it'll add things like salvage missions, which we'll see possibly in 319, mining missions, which again, possibly in 319, full cargo refactored from front to bottom, tractor beams, and even repair gameplay and engineering, multi-crew gameplay. There'll be a ton of shit they'll be adding to the game, which will make the game a lot more repeatable, a lot more fun in my opinion, but... No, I don't think we'll get a 321. I think we'll get a 320, and then we'll get a 320.1, 22.2, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's the thing. That's another thing, Kemi, I'm worried about, because like it seems like they're adding this new player experience without half of the new stuff they're going to be adding. So my concern about this new player experience is that, is this too soon for that experience? Like, it would make sense if they had the new interaction system that they were developing for Squadron, and the new MOBA glass, and the new new EVA stuff. So I'm thinking this is probably going to be super basic in comparison. The new player experience revolved around a lot of around in-game branding, so I think it's mostly in-world stuff. Oh, definitely, for sure. I want to see the new star map with the sort of grid system. Exploration missions to jump to random points, blank space to scan for asteroids or salvage ships, then missions generated only after it's scanned. Most of that is... like, a lot of the bare bones of that will be this year, but most of that is not going to happen until after Quanta's added. So, I wonder if they haven't done the roadmap because they're concerned with merging 318 and 319 to see if more development is required. The progress tracker? Because this is definitely the roadmap, it's just not the progress tracker. 1.0 is quarter 1 2024 at the earliest, and we're going to spend CitizenCon bragging about Pyro again. I have faith, maybe misplaced faith, probably misplaced faith, that we're going to spend CitizenCon talking about Squadron 42. I think that's the only redeeming way that you can make CitizenCon not just, we've talked about this for 3 years straight. You need to add cargo grids to cargo elevators, otherwise cargo won't stay in place once you're trying to load it. That's part of what they're doing. Wait, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like on ships cargo elevators? From an engineering standpoint, it may be a lot of things CIG planned for 4.0 will be ready before the server meshing technology is ready. It could be. From what CIG has stated in the past, they believe that PES is a lot more complicated and a lot more difficult than server meshing is. And based off of how often server meshing is used in other places, I can see that. Especially even basic versions of it ending up in a lot of indie games. But I'm more concerned with the interactions. Like the weird things that you don't think about which interact with server meshing that they may not have planned for yet. I think if CIG sat down at CitizenCon, gave a estimated release date, even if they miss it, even if they delay it, like, which I think they will anyways, because every game does, 6 months or so, 6 to 12 months, and they show off another vertical slice, like, people will shut the fuck up. Like, that's the people will not say a goddamn thing for several months, and then people will start complaining about it again. But it's like, because we've seen that happen with the vertical slice as well. Answer the Call 2024. I don't think they're going to do Answer the Call again, but. And the roadmap as of now shows Squadron 42 almost done. I mean, we're going to read the Squadron 42 monthly report. It is pretty much almost done. But there's done and then there's done. Done as in built is not done. That's like putting all the ingredients together for a cake. It's there. You got to bake that bitch though. And then after that, you got to add the frosting. Because if you don't, yeah, you got to polish it, and sometimes it requires complete reworks of missions, because sometimes a mission is hot garbage and does not make any sense or is bad. I'd love to see Gillian Anderson or Mark Hamill come on and introduce it and maybe do a little bit of a Q&A, but it'd be hard to sell. I mean, what I'd really love to see is Henry Cavill come on stage and talk about it, but that would probably be a lot more nerd cred. Squadron 42 month report having collectibles being worked on gave me a large dose of hopium. I haven't read it yet, so that's interesting to hear. But I'll let you in on a secret. I'll let you in on a secret, y'all. They have like at least 4 or 5 different vertical slices they've already done. You know how I know this? Because they talk about them in the Squadron 42 monthly report on a regular basis. It seems to be, and I did a short on this. There seems to be like a new stage. You know, you have like white box, gray box, final art, and then complete. There's like between final art and complete, there is a vertical slice stage. So a vertical slice, for those of you who don't know the lingo, you can think of a vertical slice as a miniature demo. The concept of a vertical slice is you take a game and you boil down all of the basic components of that game into a single playable experience. So a lot of vertical slices you'll see demonstrated at like E3 or other conventions on big stages. The things where you see the gameplay demos or the gameplay reveals, those are often what in the industry calls vertical slices. And the concept of the vertical slice is you take a slice. If you have a big game, big long game, you take a little sliver of that game, pull it out, and then show it to people. And usually that vertical slice will have all the elements that are available in that game. So if it's a shooter, it'll have all the different gadgets that you have to use, or like show off that it has gadgets, or the different features. It'll try to show off all of the game as kind of a miniature game in and of itself, so people can see it. Yeah, these are not playable by players. They're demonstrations. They're on stage demonstrations. Read the emails. I wait for them to come out on the monthly reports onto the website, because that's when most people do it. I get those emails too. I just don't always have time to read them all. I usually read them right before. I skimmed through a little bit of it today, but I don't know if we'll get. I'd love to see a Squadron 42 demo for like us, a playable demo, but. Do I think CR will continue to pull Skyrim with Squadron 42 and keep re-releasing it basically everywhere? No. CIG wants to make Squadron 42 Part 2 and Part 3. The game itself was originally supposed to be one game, and then Aaron Roberts came in as part of the team, and he looked at the script and was like, this is far too much game, Chris. We are chopping it up into 3 different pieces. So they chopped it up in 3 different pieces. But the concept being that once you've developed the technology for Squadron 42, you don't need to develop new technology. Like, they don't need to make Gen 12 again. They don't need to make server meshing again. They don't need to make PES again. They can use all the technology in Squadron 42 and then reuse that technology for the sequel, and they can turn around with just doing new levels and those sorts of things. They don't have to completely go from scratch again. And this is a method that Aaron Roberts has used before, because that's how he made the Lego games. If you've noticed the Lego games that came out, they're all pretty much the same concept, though with their own unique spins on the genre, and often kind of expanded some of the ideas. And that worked really well, because a lot of people really, really like the Lego games. I think the most recent Lego game is kind of an epitome of that, where it's this expanded, it's like the small basic concept and expanded it much way out. So. Yes, a lot of the CIG devs worked on the original Lego Star Wars game. They worked on a bunch of the Lego stuff, so. Yes, they're moving to Vulcan. And that's the thing that people forget. So, like, I fully expect a quick turnaround from Squadron 42 1 to Squadron 42 2. At least Aaron seemed to believe it would take them 2 years to make another game. I'd probably be more on the side of 3 years, but we'll see. The Skywalker Saga is good. Please play it if you play Lego games as a kid. You deserve it. You being chat and you watching this in the future. So, but yeah, I definitely watched the director's commentary. I'll probably do that at some point during the summer. I'll probably sit down and watch the director's commentary live and the kind of during an office hours, so you can watch the entire vertical slice with me. I think nowadays games try to reinvent themselves too much with each release. Just like the Lego games, if you like one, you're pretty happy with others being similar. As long as they're similar in the right ways and different in new ways, add new ideas. And then drop what doesn't work and kind of continue to work with what does work. The Star Citizen is going to be a completely different game by the end of this year. Almost certainly. For instance, Star Citizen was a completely different game at the end of 2022 versus the beginning of 2022. They doubled the player cap, almost tripled the player cap. They significantly improved performance. They added a bunch of new features. They added brand new events. Engineering note, 317.2 had 1 river, 318 has like 14. The 317.2 had 5 or 6 derelict outposts. 318 has 34. And each of them are unique and different from one another. You'll definitely not recognize Star Citizen in 2924. But if you mean 2024, that's true. In January, for sure. I think that throws some people off. It's been some of the concept ships have been hanging in the air for like 5 years. Yeah, there's been some long time. Though if you look at all the concept ships, I think the vast majority of them are larger ships, which I can forgive. I know not everyone can. I'm not everyone. I'm me. I can only express my opinion. But I personally don't think that's a huge deal because there's no point in adding something like the Perseus until multi-crew gameplay is actually meaningful. As much as I would love to see the Kraken and the Polaris, there's no point in having them in the game if you can't even have enough players to crew them. So I get that concept. It's like, focus on what we get done now. There are some things I do not forgive CIG for, like the X1 and the Ranger. Holy shit, CIG. What the fuck? The X1 is 100% bullshit. Oh, the Lynx too. But the Lynx was never sold, I don't think. It was sold in the sense that it comes with, I think, the Phoenix, but at least you get something for that. Like the 400i owners have a garage for the X1 that for a ship that doesn't exist. I own an Endeavor and an Idris, send help. Man, you're not going to see your Endeavor until you're dead. The X1 is a tragedy. And if there's one thing I'd love to do is to organize a movement to try to get the X1 to be a best in show, even though it's against the rules, to shame CIG into actually making that fucking ship. Yeah, that's right. Turbulence making a new ship team that's coming in there. The Ranger is a little bit more forgivable, but the X1, like there are 15 different. We have 3 hover vehicles. We have the hover quad, we have the Nox, and we have the Dragonfly. There is no tech you need to develop for the X1. I guess technically the Nomad too. But there's no tech you need to develop. And the audacity to release the hover quad before the X1 when people had already paid for it, like, come on. Come on. That's just atrocious. And then, on top of all of this, to release the 400i with a dedicated X1 hangar without an X1? What the fuck, CIG? Yeah, they said that the Ranger they had to deal stuff with, like, they're changing how ground vehicle physics works, and they have been working on that, but they're close to finishing that. Can I come back on the captain's table just be mad about the X1 again? When the X1 comes out, I will bring you back onto the captain's table so we can just meme on CIG. So according to the roadmap, yeah, because I hadn't seen it on the progress tracker. Thank you, Lucas. I know someone had pointed that out. It'll be finished in June of 2023. After 73 weeks. What? And I mean this in the most respectful way. The fuck, CIG? It took you longer to make the X1 than it took you to make the fucking Scorpius. And it's not like the Origins design guide doesn't exist. They've made in the time it's been like in progress, they've made the 100i. Yeah, the X1's on the tracker. That's what Lucas posted there in chat earlier. And watch it not even come out. Watch it not even come out after 73 weeks. The X1 better be shining my shoes and feeding me intravenously with how fucking long it's taken. They completely you want me to tell you they completely rebuilt they scrapped iCache and built PES in the time it's taken. Took them longer to build the X1 than it did to take them to build the PES. Watch fucking server meshing be out before they even release the fucking X1. If the fucking 600i comes out before the X1, the rework of the 600i. Oh. The issue with the X1 is that it's not a priority because CIG sees it as another hover vehicle. But it's just a hover vehicle. I hit a soft spot. Like, I know it's like, oh, well, it's been on the progress tracker for a year. It's going to take 74 weeks. It's been in concept for like 4 years. They built the 400i before they built this damn thing. You excited with the mention of sewer ground racing? I am. I'm actually very excited about that. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with ground level gameplay, because that seems to be something that they're hinting towards, which will be interesting to see. Poutine is very good. So yeah, like I said, there are some things I can forgive for CIG. The X1 is not one of them. And I will dunk on CIG if it is not out by CitizenCon. I will go to John Crew and just be like, so does the X1 fillet me while I fly it? Does it feed me intravenously? Does it come with a supermodel? Is that why it's taking so long to do another hover bike? The heart broke when the Crucible was snatched from the roadmap. Crucible will come back. I think it'll probably come back before the end of the year, because there's a lot of references to trying to get tow truck gameplay to be good, which directly corresponds with repair. So it's likely they looked at it and said, "Do we need to start working on this now?" The answer is no, because they needed to get the tow truck stuff, the tractor beam stuff to work. Once they got that to work, then they'll go back to it. X1 secretly has drone tech so you can fly it remotely. As an Origin fanboy and X1 envier, I am ready to riot in Warville. Crucible needed PES before it was releasable. I mean, yeah, but the like it being on the progress tracker means they're looking at it, and PS has been, at least internally, been in their dev tools for several months now. So it's obviously been delayed for other reasons, and I can see that being more the tractor beam stuff. It took them 73 weeks to figure out how to put the X1 outer skin on the Nox. If there were a riot in Lorville, everyone noticed. Would anyone even notice the damage? That's a good question. Between the Vulture and the Reclaimer, there's a glaring need for a medium-sized salvage ship. I agree, and I told I said that to X, and I think X finally broke down. It's like, yeah, there doesn't need to be, because normally X would say, oh yeah, the Vulture is a medium. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not a medium ship. It's a small ship. It fits on an extra small hangar. Yeah, I do know the 318 has a mini jump down at Korea. I do have a plan. I've always wanted to do one of these, so I'll probably. I'm putting together a team, chat. I'm gonna do a video with a bunch of other creators, like a heist movie with Korea. So. I'll have a bet, chat. Will Squadron 42 come out before the... which will come out first? The X1 or Squadron 42? A heist movie. When you realize your name was not called for a team. I've only called 4 people. I still have to build the team. Squadron 42. Yeah, so I'll do like a little narrative intro and then kind of work from there. God, I hope it's the X1. You get yourself a smuggling Pico? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll probably work with Expat on that one. I don't know how you feel about the X1 Q-Pan. Are you upset about it? Or do you think it's stupid? Is it actually playing good, Black, for 318? Because I haven't tried the recent one. Nice. Give me my X1 CIG. That's all right, Robert. Oh, I don't give a shit about the X1, but the fact that it's like there's legitimately no excuse for it taking that long, other than it's not a priority. The G12, that's the next one after that. The X1 is older than the G12. It's got new fixes / new problems, old problems returning. So it's just a typical patch. It's just another patch at Star Citizen. I have a shit with a bay for it. I will say one more time before we watch Star Citizen Live or Star Citizen Live, ISC. The issue is not that the X1 isn't being built. The issue is that they built a ship with a bay for it, and then built another hover ship for another ship because it's supposed to fit with the Nomad. So A, the technology is there because they completely reworked the technology with the hover quad. And then they built a ship with a dedicated X1 hangar. So it's like, where's the X1? There's this old Sprite commercial where they had like a bunch of people sitting in a boardroom, and it was them talking about different like clothing lines, and like it had a music video set up, and they had a poster for this movie, and then they said, okay, great, how's the movie doing? Oh, we're gonna get someone to write the script tomorrow. Like they had the entire merchandising thing set out before they even had the script, and that's what the X1 feels like. Lucas, thank you for posting it again because people are asking. But yes, are you posting the links? Is there? Okay. And actually, we actually have seen monthly report updates on the links. Like they've talked about that in the past. The X1, there's a X1 hangar on the 400i. Oh, the Lynx is coming out first, maybe. It'd be interesting to see if Turbulent, because they're building a new team for Turbulent. It'd be interesting to see Turbulent's take on ships. Don't blame me, blame CIG. Let's look at the G12. I don't think the G12's on the list, though. Yeah, G12's not on the list. Filters, Squad 42. They haven't updated the progress tracker for Squad 42, but a lot of stuff looks like they're done with their sprints. A lot of the chapters seem pretty close to, like their sprints ended in January or December. I've heard whispering about a new bomber that isn't the A1. I don't know. I do not know. TheAstroPub, do you think the new Turbulent team will make a new manufacturer? No, I don't think so. I can't wait till the next progress tracker 6th end, where stuff extends to the 2023. Oh, it almost certainly is going to. Squadron 42 isn't done. in any way, shape, or form. And likely those, well, I'd say there are some points where it's done, but it's not completed. As we said, there's done and then there's done. It is done in many cases, but it's not completed, not finished. It could be one of those that's on that's being worked on. So the other things I would say is, like, for instance, I doubt we're going to see the Expanse or the what's the one? Oh, why I feel bad about this because it's the one that everyone wants. That's the competitor to the Carrack. The Odyssey, yeah. We're not going to see the Odyssey or the Expanse because they both have refineries. We won't see the Galaxy necessarily because it has a refinery. We won't see the Polaris or the Javelin or the Kraken or the Orion or the Idris because there's just not enough people until after server meshing, so... Turbulent is mostly locations, but they're expanding the team to be effectively CIG's third major studio. Well, third major location, because they have the US team and they have the EU team, and then they will have the Turbulent team, which will use a lot of that stuff. The Genesis is another one of those that I don't think we will see just because it involves AI transportation, which just isn't there yet until after server meshing. I mean, they could just release the cargo module and the refinery, but they don't even have the modularization working yet. So that's another thing that it wouldn't work on. Hey, Jordan. You missed us lamenting about the X1. Why do people care about the X1? It's another hover vehicle that's going to be twice park up the ASOP. I don't care about the X1 at all, except for the fact that the principle of the thing, that it's just another hover vehicle that CIG for some reason has been put off for so long to get into the game. It would be an easy check mark comparatively compared to everything else they have in the backlog. The Liberator is closer to, but the Liberator, again, doesn't make a lot of sense, similar to the whole C, because it's just, you won't need it until Pyro comes out. Yes, 2 hours. I don't know what I said, but I didn't mean to say 2 hours. And my chat is just broken. Okay, let me try this again. Hey, Soul Citizens, how you doing? You caught me at a weird time. Yes, now we're going to watch ISC.
This week, it's another Journey to 4.0 special, where we jump farther ahead and take a look at work scheduled to make its persistent universe debut in the upcoming 4.x branch of release. And this week, we're proud to bring Star Citizen art director Ian Leyland back to share with us a first look inside the build.
Am I thinking the whole C doesn't make sense until you get large-scale commodity trading and cargo holding sorting out? Yeah, that's what I mean, though. Like the whole C, the Liberator doesn't make a lot of sense until you can get... So you need the reason for it. You need something larger. The Galaxy and Tally Base will come out at the same time. They will. They could happen this year, but it's hard to tell because server meshing is going to obviously be the priority. So,
buildings of Star Citizen's landing zones.
Okay. Before we get started, because I know this was a lot of people are salty about this because it's just concept art. It's just concept art, by the way. All of these features were filmed last December. So this was over a month ago. How do I know this? Because they did a Star Citizen Live with people from Montreal in like the second week of December, where they were talking about how they did a bunch of features talking about the building interiors and Loreville. So all of these segments were filmed several months ago. So when Jared at the end says it's already in production, he was right. This has already been started to production. And it's also Montreal. So as much as I know people are like, oh, but it's CIG, it's just concept art we're not going to see for 20 years. This is the poutine and moose people. All right. These people fucking just go. They don't know how stopping works. Thank you, Soul Citizens, again.
So building interiors is something we've always wanted to do, because of, we've had cities in the game for a while. We have many cities, we have many buildings. Therefore, we could have many interiors. It's a perfect opportunity to put in a lot of play space. Now, with the players flying around these buildings, they've been largely urban landscapes, fairly uninteractable. We've done a few landing pads to get the players in and out there, but really the real good stuff was on the inside. So up until now, we've been on the outside wondering about the inside, and today we're going to talk about the inside, looking outside.
This is also Journey to 4.0, so this is still a year away. And I'm still kind of a little torn on them just showing concept art because, it is just concept art and a lot of it may change. But I do like the fact that they're telling us about stuff that's still, in the distant future that they're already starting to work on. So.
All right, so with building interiors, the way in which we approach the concept development, now this was just a pure blue sky ideation phase, and the idea was to create inspirational material to use that as a content to inspire conversations, to find out what do we want to do for the game, what is cool for the game, and use that as the initial springboard for the conversation. So what we'll be looking through here is a presentation of...
i.e. your children could look forward to it? Not that far ahead. It's still so Montreal.
Primarily used as a springboard to start conversations with Chris, with the design director, and the game director to understand what do we want to put in the game, what could be cool for the game, and we use that as that initial inspiration point. So when we're talking about building interiors, how could we start to break that down? So right off the bat on the top, it's the rooftop spaces. So these would be the primary access points for the player. Then just below that, the maintenance spaces, these could be industrial or technical. Also, we can have
parts of this will require a lot more NPC AI in cities. Yes, which is why it's not going to be done until after server meshing, which is why it's the road to 4.0.
Residential. So residential could be in...
This is the thing Crusader doesn't want you to know. You can land on all the platforms in Orison. I've landed in all 243 platforms. You can also race on them. I get that, Beam.
High building blocks.
I don't want you to know that.
Proportion. Then after that, we've got commercial. So these could be shopping, it could be offices, it could be social. And then at the bottom, obviously, we've got lobbies. Now, these also could be access points for the player. For example, if you're inside Area 18, the player can get access to it there. And then lastly, we've got the underground. Now, these could be interesting as a connector space between buildings. So maybe you've gone in through one building, you go down, and it could bring you through to another part of a building. Let's start with rooftops. Now, up until now, we've largely designed our cityscapes to be more of a backdrop to the landing zone. we have the social space generally in the middle, and then the cityscape goes around it. And they've been designed to give the best composition, to be interesting to fly around. But we've not really thought about designing these buildings from the inside out. So what we're looking at here is some potential concepts for what could be interesting landing spaces that drives the architecture of the building. With landing pads, it doesn't necessarily need to be on the top of the building. It could be, halfway down or lower. So imagine, you're in the lower parts of the city, and then we'd open up these additional play spaces. And as you can see here, it's not just the landing pad, it's the gameplay space that goes along with it too. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a single building. Imagine there is a network hub that services a few different buildings. So what we're looking at here is maybe like a transit hub where the player could land, get on some transit, and then that would lead to some buildings. Okay, so maintenance spaces. So these could be really interesting in terms of player interaction. They could be dealing with the power or the maintenance of the building. And then also you could have technical spaces. So these would be more for technicians. It could deal with the data or the communications. And what we're looking at here is potential some, gameplay puzzles where the player has to work their way inside the main operation booth. So
this gives me a lot of cyberpunk vibes. Now, what he said earlier about the lobby that tends to we're not going to get ground level gameplay with the lobby. That's what I thought that might be influencing. He was saying, no, if you're in Area 18, you could get access to these buildings from the lobby. So it's like, okay, so we're probably not going to get access to them. But if you're in the landing zone, you could get into the lobby of some of these locations. So
residential. So there's a huge amount of potential here. What we wanted to do with residential is two
very
things.
cyberpunk.
One, explore
like Cyberpunk 2077,
investigating the potential player housing. So with that, we want to be able to create a variety of interior layouts, and also we want to explore a variety of architectural styles. So when we're looking at potential housing layouts, we wanted something fairly modular in a way in which we could create a variety of combinations. So whether it's living spaces or habitation spaces or social spaces. And also here we want the players to eventually be able to populate the player-owned habitation. So you see here like a first indication of how, the sort of dressing styles that you'd be able to do. Outside of something that's fairly utilitarian, we also want to do something that could be fairly high-end. So here we're just exploring some ideas about what a space could feel like on a different architectural style, and more generous windows, interior spaces dedicated to more than just habitation. And these would be focused on other landing zones. So imagine you come across these in Area 18, or it could be when we come to Terra. And also, like I said,
straight out of Judge Dredd. That is straight out of Judge Dredd.
That it could be informing future player-owned habitation architectural sets. Now, outside of the living quarters, there's also the social spaces just outside, and we want these to be more than just the corridors that we're seeing in the game right now. So these could be multi-layered.
That's the apartment from Mass Effect, or like Mass Effect 3, right?
Social spaces. And these could also inform advanced traversal routes for the player to be able to
investigation there. Look at that. Oh, this is Hurston. That's Gavin Hurston right there. That's a picture of no, it's Ariel right there in the right.
Get inside these habitation rooms.
I want that picture. That's cool as fuck.
What you're seeing here is just a collection of ideas, a collection of architectural intent to create like a
mentioning Terra is interesting. I mean, it's not it is a little interesting, the sense that he mentioned Terra, because it's obviously it's in their mind, but it's not too unheard of. Terra is a big deal. Terra in lore is the effectively rival to Earth in terms of its importance. It is probably more important than Earth in many ways. So CIG, and the reason why they made that is because they want to make Terra like the second hub for players, at least for us now, it's almost certainly going to be the starting area. It's going to be the place where almost all players will start the game is Terra, if not Stanton, because it is going to be the safest place to be to spawn in. You'll be able to learn a lot. It'll look beautiful. It'll have all these vistas, like the way that it's described in the concept images we've seen. It is very much like designed to be that first what kind of moment in a video game, like the take your breath away moment when you step out there. Yeah, Terra does have a connection to Stanton too. Yes.
A palette or a mood that will inform.
At what point do we get furniture stores? When CIG can do microtransactions.
Art style and gameplay opportunities. So outside of residential, we're moving into the commercial area. So what this means is it means we can look at areas that are more gameplay focused outside of player habitation. So when we're talking about these could be office blocks, these could be corporate owned. Inside here, there could be corporate wings, there could be manufacturing, there could be office spaces. And what we try to think about with these is...
He's using the language of that actual urban planning PhDs use. I believe Ian Leyland does have a background in some of that, I believe. I may be wrong, but I believe he has a background in at least concept art for construction. So
it's more than just a flat room. There should be advanced reversal. It should
or
be
he just at least did research.
So outside of
CIG has done a fuck ton of research. Like the lore team themselves did a shit ton of research when it came to things like the like how the military functions and how like actual medical facilities, how they operate, the terminology they use, which is the reason why they did like the tier list, the tier 3, 2, and 1 instead of 1, 2, and 3, like people were expecting, because that's the trauma levels, more or less how medical facilities work. They don't work in a ascending order, they work in a descending order where 1 is the most critical care. So
out of the commercial offices, we've also got like restaurants and bars. So what we're looking at here is a pretty cool like skyline bar in Lowville. That could be fun. But also in restaurants, Chris always described the idea of really high-end restaurants in the game where you can get access to food choices that isn't available anywhere else.
God.
So right at the foot of the building.
Chris, why? Chris, no. No, Chris, please. Are we going to have to sit down and wait for like a waiter to serve us food? It's the future. Just have us order on a pad and have it like raise out of the floor or something like that. I don't know. I don't want. God damn it.
We're going to start talking about the lobby. So as I said before, these are going to be access points to the player, but also we can do more than just a standard foyer that we're seeing in the game right now. So this sort of space we're seeing here.
This is very cyberpunk. Like this feels like Cyberpunk 2070. This feels like Night City.
Is imagine there's an underground transit network, and that transit station feeds a network of building lobbies.
Food is delivered via X1s. Good, so we're not going to get it for another 3 years.
So these could be social spaces. These could be really good
jazz in the
spaces.
geonodes.
They could have access to mini restaurants or bars or facilities. And we're just showing that in a variety of...
Up here to the left. Top left. What is that?
Art styles. So one's a fairly low end. One could be fairly high end. But the variety of art styles. So one's a fairly low end. Variety of art styles.
What's that? Top left. Top left. What does it look like? No, very top left. Top left right over there. Top left. It's an image. It's like a video. It's SCL. It's SCL. It's the only constant. Someone actually got like a higher resolution version of it. Let me see if I can upgrade this one because it's pretty low res for this one. Let me put it up to the full 4K. Up next on Star Citizen Tonight, live from the Verse. Sorry, it was super low quality. I should have updated it. I do like the last drink though. Looking at all the different stuff, different terms.
So one's a fairly low end, one could be fairly high end, but the infrastructure is the same. So as we're exploring art style opportunities, this then drives where it would be appropriate.
That looks like it's in engine. Like this looks like it's in engine. So I think a lot of this stuff may be done with in-game components as part of it. Like a lot of these features, like the big holograph. The holographic woman looks like it's in engine. Again, very Blade Runner, very cyberpunk.
So some would be more appropriate in someone like Area 18. Some would be more appropriate in someone like
Central.
Horizon, and obviously some would be more appropriate for future landing zones like Odessa or Prime. And also when we're talking about lobbies, again, what we're
would they take us to Terra for beta? Almost certainly beta will launch with Pyro or with not Pyro with Terra. Almost certainly.
Trying to do is we're trying to describe multi-layer traversal spaces. So in these illustrations, you're seeing a variety of routes to then help inform the initial conversation with level design. Now, finally, we're going to talk about the underground. Now, this is, I think, one of the coolest spaces. So rather than just focusing on the positive axis of the building, we're going to look at the underground. Now, what this does, it means we can access a whole area of play space that doesn't need to be contained inside the building. So within the lobby, we want the player to start to traverse down into...
This is a rebel outpost! Oh, this is definitely a rebel outpost. Look at that. Or like a smuggling den. That's what this is. Oh, Jesus.
Underground transit network.
Odessa is, I believe, Odysseus is Magnus, I believe is what he was talking about.
They could be abandoned underground transit networks.
Yeah.
This then could drive potential racing opportunities. So when we was doing this, we thought, oh, it'd be really cool. Like, what would it look like if there's an underground street race going on there? Also, there could be traversal opportunities. Like I said before, if the player wanted to go into one building, down, and then through, and then up into another building, what would that traversal network?
We almost certainly are going to get Magnus and Terra. I think that the good way of fleshing out the whole route is after Pyro, we get Nyx. After Nyx, we get Castra. After Castra, we get Hadrian. After Hadrian, we get Magnus. And then finally, we get Terra. I think that's a good solid starting group for beta because they all have routes that connect each other and sometimes double in on each other. So
network be like, especially if we're thinking about if it's an older part of the underground of a city, maybe it's less used, people have built up, that would instantly inspire a whole bunch of traversal and investment.
Is he talking about an undercity, like an underhive from 40K?
Investigation missions there. Or maybe there's an old aqueduct or an old infrastructure underground. This could be perfect for underground street racing or other racing opportunities. So in a nutshell, what we looked at is a blue sky investigation into what building interiors could be like for the game. These are essentially dungeon kits. We want to be able to work on these areas in a fairly procedural manner, and we want these to be dungeon opportunities for gameplay spaces. It also will start to inform the future of player-owned habitation and the type of visuals or look and feels that could be. So this ties into a much larger initiative. So we're seeing it a little bit now with the redo of Lowville. That's turning into a much bigger cityscape. And what that means is every city in the game is ready for these building interior spaces. Now, one thing to note is the cityscapes are probably going to change a little bit. Just from an initial investigation, we found our buildings are quite small. So expect to see the skylines go through a period of transition, but that's cool because that means we're designing the inside of the buildings and then we'll redo the architecture to fit to that. So I think it's going to be super positive for the game. So just in case we was thinking it's all just blue sky concept, actually we're going to start full production on these spaces right at the end of this quarter.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that much like the new underground facilities we showcased before, building interiors will be a new series of modular set pieces, enabling a whole host of gameplay
Dungeon
opportunities,
raids, yeah.
from trade to exploration to combat. A whole host building. What did we learn this week?
That Titanic reference right there. I swear to God, that's just a green screen that they keep fucking with us with.
Well, we learned that much like the new underground facilities we showcased before, building interiors will be a new series of modular set pieces, enabling a whole host of gameplay opportunities, from trade to exploration to combat and PvP and much more. And that, much like those new UGFs, they're going into production now, and in fact, by the time this airs, will already have started. And that
No, it's definitely not Weasel Words. It definitely meant at the end of Q4 because it was recorded in December. We know that for sure. And as Jared just said, it's already in production. So
the journey to 4.0 may have Pyro at its center, but it will still continue to evolve all aspects of Star Citizen and the existing persistent universe around it. Now, we'll be back with more Inside Star Citizen next week. But for our journey to 4.0, I'm Jared Huckabee, and we'll be back in about a month or so with our next big look forward. See you then.
Pico and Vanduul, yeah. Is there a big funny ending? Let's see if there's a funny ending. Oh, it's just off. All right, I'll be right back and we'll kind of dive into this. Filler but solid? Nah, I mean, it's not really filler. It's more of a future look. Be right back. Oh, I forgot to turn it on. I forgot. All right, I'll let you turn it on again. I'll let you do it a little bit. My bad. I forgot I had silenced it. There you go. Go crazy.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot.
I'll suffer.
Is a complicated profession.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. It was at this moment
Just
that
an
he
old-fashioned
knew.
cowboy.
He fucked up.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Distress bacon. Distress bacon.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
All right, I'm turning it off now. Turning it off. All right. So, I think I can almost guarantee you there are going to be some people who have the re moments with this, but like that looks fine. It wasn't meant as a big feature that's going to come soon. It's more of a, hey, this is what we're planning on doing for 4.0. And since 4.0 is a year plus away, that makes sense. It was fine. I don't think it was the best episode they've ever done, and I am excited to see more of this. Now, I know a lot of people are like, I'm going to be dead before this is in the game. It's like, no, you're not. It's going to be in the game in a year or two. what they'll do is what they've been doing with a lot of the outposts is they'll do kind of an overlay system where they're going to build probably a couple of versions of these offices and living spaces, and then they're going to proc gen them. So they're going to put them kind of in a hopper and then just have them, you know, rearrange in various ways, and then take those versions and then just kind of leave them into various cities and just kind of randomly distribute them throughout a city. They may have buildings which are designated as residential, as mixed, as commercial, as industrial, whatever, and they'll just do those around a city. And this is a good thing because this will actually increase the amount of gameplay we'll have on a regular basis, because all they have to do is just drop in a mission in there and boom, they're done. We all may be dead tomorrow, Joseph. Who knows? Yeah, go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead and give some questions. I want my low-income housing to go with my low-income spaceship. No more concept ship sales. Now you can buy concept furniture and decorations. Oh, God. Nerf gun riot in Lorville. Oh, I love it. I love it. Man, kids don't remember what disrespecting was? Nope, they don't. They don't. This is a very smart move on CIG's part. And I'll explain a little bit here. Star Citizen is, and this is going to sound controversial, it's not meant to be, but CIG is setting up their game to have a more explorable city than Cyberpunk does, than any open world RPG does. Because they could, in theory, make literally every building explorable. That doesn't mean they'll be worth exploring? Probably not. Because you see one apartment complex, you've seen them all. they'll be very cookie cutter. But then again, as long as there's just enough variation, I don't think it'll be that bad. I don't think we're going to get NFTs in Star Citizen. Question, so is Jean ever intrigued by turtles on Earth? Would they see them as pets, same way as Devarin, or are they an all primitive version of developed from another system entirely? Not really, because I mean, they're while they're similar, they're very, very different in terms of the actual biology and the way they look. So, dude, I can't wait to get my garage for my X1 that I will still be waiting on. It would be interesting to see like primitive apes that were like more like humans in Xi'an and Tavaran areas. That'd be kind of funny. Am I looking forward to Sons of the Forest and their advanced AI and building system? It's very scary at this point. I have never heard of Sons of the Forest. I don't know what that is. Go to bed, Velocity. Have a good night. Question, what happens to modern car companies in lore? They went out of business. You can't compete. A Ford F-150 isn't going to compete against a spaceship that can literally do suborbital flights and be flown by someone with about the same amount of credentials as a car driver. I'm planning to meme the shit out of the X1 because it's apparently taken them 73 weeks to make a hover ship. Built Drake tough. Yeah. So, what happened to the whole thing of being able to smuggle stuff into Lorville, like alternative routes in, or is just security checkpoints in general? I don't know. I assume that they'll add different side entrances that you have to discover or know about. But that wouldn't be too difficult for them to implement. It would just be a matter of them implementing kind of doorways and other hallways, which they've done in the past. And they've kind of worked on some of those concepts with like security areas, which you're not supposed to go into. But we already kind of have that with the gates. You know, there's obviously gates that have security checkpoints, that there may be other accesses through Lorville. Same thing with Microtech and with Area 18. There may be some other kind of ways to get access through derelict buildings or places that don't have as many monitors, that kind of thing. So it's just a matter of them building that tech out, or building that those hallways out, which they just haven't done yet. I think it's one of those situations where they don't have monitoring software yet. You know, they don't prevent you from carrying your weapons and armor into a location. So until they have that working, there's no point in building the alternative routes in. Is it us memeing the X1 or using the X1 to meme CIG? Yes, Velocity, on both cases. Yeah, so there are a couple of vehicle manufacturers still, but they're Greycat and Tumbrel. But even then, like, Greycat was well after the fact. Another big thing is, this is going to sound like heresy, especially to all my fellow Americans, but the entire world is run off of public transportation, even by the late 21st century in the Star Citizen universe. They built a gigantic, and I mean fuck off huge, maglev train that goes from Alaska down to the ring of the Punto de Fierro, the very southern tip of South America. Oh, so they're making a sequel to The Forest. Okay, I know The Forest. Hey, Sketch Therapy. So, as a result, most of the world runs off of public transport, because there's a lot of other issues that happened during the human overpopulation era, resource wars, other issues like that. So it may have just been cars were not efficient anymore, and so a lot of people stopped driving them, and they stopped selling them, and they ran out of oil, or they ran out of cheap oil enough for them to justify it. So. From an engineering standpoint, they don't need to develop smuggling into Lorville, because they already know how to do that. And the game is still an alpha that will come after Terra. Probably not, though, Joseph. They're almost certainly going to add that in when they add smuggling gameplay. Just because they know how to do it doesn't mean they won't do it, because, as I've said at the very beginning, CIG wants its cake and eat it too. They're going to develop systems, and then they're also going to develop systems for players to enjoy, and smuggling will be one of them. That's also a test of the system, because it's not just a test of building alternate routes in. It will be a test of AI patrolling the region and you having to hide from it. It'll be a whole thing. You think they'll have vehicle racing? Of 100%. Hey, Abdi, excuse me, one lore, please. Also, why hasn't Weather and Clouds come to ArcCorp yet? I don't know. I think, if I remember them saying something, that the way that they developed ArcCorp, the way they built ArcCorp is completely separate from, it's entirely unique to how they've built landing zones in the past. And they're going to have to completely rework ArcCorp in the way it works in order to get to that point. So. Sorry, Velocity. Joseph's also in YouTube chat. So. Yeah, they're definitely going to have to... I don't know what they're going to do with ArtCorp. I don't know even if they're thinking about that. Though I can imagine if they're doing this kind of interior rework stuff, that they're going to be thinking about reworking ArtCorp soon. ArtCorp uses a lot of force perspectives, so they need to redesign it. Yeah. Citizen 7 is a player-created vehicle race, but I think the what Sketch is saying is that they would really like to see like missions or more be in game other than a player-focused thing. For a MISC Razor land vehicle. You mean the Steve? Because the Steve is a racer. It's a racing vehicle. I hope so. What that a Turbulent Studios thing? Yes, I assume so. They're the ones who are doing the Lorville rework, so I assume they're going to be doing the Area 18, the ArtCorp rework. Your community racetrack? No, our community racetrack. Oh. Like F1 racing, but for the Miss Razor. I love season like that, yeah. I think that's going to be mostly a space thing, though. All right, Jordan, have a good night. Catch me outside the Vision Center in Orson. The PTV tracks. Yeah, I think what CIG wants is to put ArtCorp at the same level as the new Lorville, where you'll be able to fly through trenches and you'll be able to fly low and experience the entirety of Area 18 and of ArtCorp. I think that's what they want to do. But that's going to require a complete rework of the landing zone as well, which, again, that sounds like very much a Turbulent thing. Have a good night there, Outlaw. Thanks for hanging out. Gosh, we have a lot of people. It's weird that I stream now. I turn on the stream, there's like 133 people come in. I couldn't put 133 people in my house. That's a lot of fucking people. And then there's 83 people on YouTube. That's what is it? That's I had a list of amounts somewhere. It's not telling me those now. Oh, there's 216 people watching. Holy fuck. Even if half of the people are watching both, that's still like over 160 people. Oh, Sons of the Forest comes out February 23rd. God fucking... Why do all of these indie devs release their games the same week? Because that's the same day that Blood Bowl 3 comes out. And then 2 days later, freaking Kerbal Space Program 2 goes out into early access. It's a racing vehicle. The STV is a racing vehicle. It's an off-road vehicle, but it's like an off-road racing vehicle. It's not like a Formula 1 racing, but that's what the CIG describes it as. We're here for the long form. I get it. Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, this is live. No, is this live? No, it's not live, Shampasta. It's all pre-recorded. I'm just very good at predicting. or you're a bot and I programmed you to say that to make it look even more realistic. But if you're watching this after the fact, it's not live, it's pre-recorded because you're watching the VOD. That's a good question. I think that's a possibility. I think that's the earliest we'll see. If 318 goes into to open PTU tomorrow, we could see 318 go live on the 24th. Like, we could see it go live on the 24th. Though I think the more reasonable is the 3rd. But because the 3rd, because CIG can go over, I think it's actually the week of the 10th. It's because, coast is clear season. When the big releases have come and gone. It's also right before the actual end of Q4. Because a lot of the Q4 financial stuff ends in March. So a lot of people want to release games right before the end of March so they can pad their numbers. I don't think it's anywhere near ready. Doesn't mean that they won't do it. Yeah, so that's the thing. Almost certainly, well, CIG has already been saying that they want to release it into OpenPTU this week. So this weekend. They're pushing for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if CIG goes into OpenPTU tomorrow. Now, the question is how long will it be in OpenPTU, and my guess is about a month. So if a month from tomorrow would be March 10th. No, they've already said that they're going live with 319 at Invictus. So they're coming. 318's coming out before Invictus, whether it's ready or not to come out. So that's just the reality. CIG's already said they're releasing 319 before Invictus, so that's what they're gonna do. Game sucks. No edible space pizza and can't even play as Chris Robertson game. You're not wrong. Absolutely game breaking that you can't have in-game pizza. You think that CR is actually one of the face models? That'd be interesting. No, again, CIG said that 319 is going to be built on the 318 stuff, but they're just going to release 318. Yeah, but why so long they're going to have to redo the tuning for the live servers? What? I don't know what you're asking there, Fishy. Why are they so long? Because they're trying to. Why would they be? It's like 1 month in OpenPTU because they want to hit it with as many people as possible, and they're probably like when the game goes to OpenPTU on Friday. If CIG seems to be dead set on that. The game will be broken for the weekend. Just it will not function for the entire weekend. You will not be able to play. No one will be able to play when it goes into OpenPTU because the floodgates will open and the games will crash. Most of y'all's stuff won't work. A lot of bugs which were thought to be fixed or didn't even know existed will show up, and it's going to take CIG an extra 2 to 3 weeks for them to actually fix the problem. That's the reason why it's going to take them a month in PTU to fix it. Like, you think it's broken now, it's going to be triply broken when it comes into OpenPTU. Because that's just how it works. There's a lot of stuff that will not be known until it's under a lot of load. Play, you won't be able to log in. Yeah. Did it actually aimless? I was still at work, so I wasn't able to do the stress test. Hey, McGaw, thank you so much for 4 months of support. Sorry about that. I didn't see that earlier. So the stress test really pushed the back end hard. Did it break aimless? I think CIG's learned from the past and the game will still be playable. Man, I hope, but Maddie, I don't know. It didn't break, it just struggled. So no, it didn't break aimless. That's good to know, though. I heard the Saber Raven and other old ships are coming to shops. Is that any truth in that? Not that I know of, no. In fact, I've removed a bunch of stuff from the shops. I tried to run it on stress test and it was running like it was installed on my HDD. Oof. Lots of companies are doing layoffs and other adjustments to ride the recession out. Is CIG doing any adjustments of any kind? Yeah, they're hiring more people. They're hoovering up all the people who've been fired to work for them. CIG, Nomad, to give you context, CIG had the biggest January that they've ever had in funding. They made like $8 million. Hiring because all the X1s y'all bought. So difficult for them to make an X1. It's the most complicated game ship in the verse. Yeah, let me pull this up because this is one of those things that a lot of people don't realize. Do. So there's this great thing called the CCU game. So they made $8 million last year. They made $7 million. So they made $1 million more this January than they did last January. And they made $4 million in 2021. They made $5 million in 2020. $3 million. As you can see, it goes down and up like $3 million. But yeah, so they made $8 million in 1 month. Like, I thought CIG's stuff might slow down because I've been hearing, like, I like maybe it's a little just because of, you know, consistency. And I've been hearing people be like, oh, well, there's a recession coming, so people are going to cut back on their spending. I'm like, man, I don't think so. I think CIG's recession proof, which is a weird thing to say, but. This CIG doesn't want to know is things CIG knows the X1 is free. I have 243 X1s in my hangar. What was the for sale in January? Nothing that I remember. I don't think they did a big sale. What was the was there a oh, it was Chinese New Year. It was the Red Festival is the thing they did. They also did, yes, Siege of Orison. They did some other Anvil. Hey, Sling, how you doing? Is this just a meme at this point? We're saying people are like, oh, ChatGPT is going to fix Star Citizen. It's like, no, it's not. That's not how ChatGPT works. It's not how any of this works. It can convincingly bullshit its way through code, so it's as good as a junior level programmer, but it's about it. Because that's the thing, is that ChatGPT is good enough to assemble bullshit that sounds reasonable. That's all it is. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. That ChatGPT is now in charge of all future lore. It is now a doctor. It's an advanced search engine, is what ChatGPT is. It would be able to generate, like, fairly reasonably bullshit dialogue, but nothing that's, like, meaningful. An intuitive search engine, yeah. I did have to correct it when it asked about 40K lore. Yeah. Here's the thing ChatGPT doesn't want you to know. ChatGPT memes are free. I have 243 ChatGPT memes in my house. I love that meme. Keep doing it, Joseph, forever. Now, CIG actually hires AI programmers. They're Goff AI programmers, but Tony Z is going to produce better AI for Star Citizen than ChatGPT ever would. Star Citizen community reminds me of Solo, Frozen, and Carbonite. It's static and unchanging. Not really. Star Citizen changes all the time. It can feel like it's the same because a lot of communities feel like that, but no. No, Star Citizen, I can tell you, I'm an old fart. I am a very old man when it comes to content creation. I have seen many generations of content creators come and go in my time. There are maybe a handful of us who are more than 3 years old in terms of making content for Star Citizen. And there's been a lot of new people coming in and a lot of people from outside the community come in to make content, so... Do I think CIG will ever make their own NLP? I don't know. GOF, G-O-F. Good old-fashioned AI. Not current, like, hyperlinked or whatever AI. It's the stuff that they've been using. AI logic that's been used for 30 years. Stuff that's been in video games forever. Question, ChatGPT, who won the AI wars? Answer, all your AIs belong to us. Goth AI, yes. Goth. Like orc goths. What I'm saying is that all the AI in Star Citizen are orcs. They run off of orc logic. Which actually kind of makes sense. Golf AI. Here's the thing, Paul doesn't want you to know about his old farts. They're free. I have 243 of his farts in my basement. Yeah, sure. I'll link it in there. It's from a site that's called the CCU Game. They pull a lot of this stuff. It's about a day behind. Here, I'll put it in the best chat. Greenskins, yes. Orcs are 40k hooligan orcs. 40k psychic hooligan orcs. Goth AI just bitch about conformists. We also need the prep AI, the jock AI. Greenskin golfer AI, orcs wearing golf course fashion. Is it the end times? All right. All right, so I'm going to do my read through of the Squadron 42 monthly report. Again, this is another quick thing I'm going to do. So be sure to note that I'm not going to respond to anyone who's talking in chat until after I'm done. So if you have comments or questions, leave them till after I'm done with the recording. All right. Here goes nothing. Quick. It's going to be an hour long because this is how these things work. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule. This is a small segment of our Office Hours live stream where we talk about the news and lore and updates of Star Citizen live on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, with chat right here. Say hello, chat. We are live. Come join us live and experience it yourself. If you enjoy this, for sure, please do come through, so you can get your own context and ask your own questions about any of the updates or anything you're curious about. This is going to be another of our Squadron 42 monthly reports. We've been doing the monthly reports for a little over a year now. A little over a year now. So I'll add, when I'm reading through this, I'll be injecting with some context for those of you who haven't maybe watched the last one we did. But as I always say, I don't know if this is helpful or not. So let me know in the comments down below if this is helpful for you, if you get something out of this. As well, if you do really enjoy this and you haven't already done so, consider hitting that subscribe button, like the video, and hit the little bell icon. That'll tell you when we go live as well as when the latest videos are uploaded. Now, this is not a summary. Obviously, by the length of this video, this is not a summary. This is a straight read through with my own kind of flavor added to it. There's nothing wrong with summaries, but summaries lose a lot of flavor, lose a lot of context in their translation. Because when you're reading a summary or you're watching a summary, you are getting what that person believes is the most important, which may not be the most important thing for you. So I would highly suggest that if you're listening to me read this, to also look at the monthly report yourself, if anything strikes your fancy, to kind of get more context. With that being said, let's get started. Yeah, my voice is dying because I do this at the end of the streams, and yeah. All right. Squadron 42 monthly report for January 2023. I'm going to skip through some of this. AI content. The AI content team began 2023 focusing on behaviors used in the Stanton location? The UES Stanton. Okay. This involved regular reviews and playthroughs to detect and fix issues that looked closely to the chow line and looking closely at the chow line and the eat and drink behaviors. The team also created a solid foundation of Maya character rigs that connect to match their in-game counterparts, allowing them to properly investigate and fix numerous problems. Time was also spent reviewing areas with 100% correct prop interaction, which was very satisfying to see. Last monthly report, they talked about using actual props, walking around, picking up stuff, using them the way they're supposed to in the specific areas they're supposed to, which apparently they're getting it dialed in. The team also began enabling characters to sit in different styles of seats while drinking and polished animations for medical cupboard and fuse crate interactions. Lastly, they continued to refine and improve the hygiene and medical behaviors. Those are two things they've been talking about for a while, about hygiene, where AI will have a routine, they'll go through the routine, they'll brush their teeth, they'll use the restroom, they'll shower, they'll change clothes, all that sort of thing. AI features. The AI features team started the year enabling AI characters to throw grenades. This is, I think, a copy-paste from the StarCitizen monthly report, but all right. This involved work in multiple different areas, including new logic for when to throw grenades to ensure challenge without overwhelming the player, parabola collision checking to ensure the grenade lands correctly, and animation so that the AI looks correct when throwing. January also saw the implementation of attack and defend areas. These assignments can be given to the AI to direct and control fighting in specific ways. On the most basic level, the defend area is used for limiting where the NPCs are positioned when fighting, whereas the attack area is used to limit where they target. When assigned to either area, the AI will prepare to fight by equipping their weapons and taking ready stance before moving to the area on high alert. So perception happens fast and perception reactions are skipped. When defending, the AI will move to a cover point inside the area and defensively peek out. When attacking, they will use existing and investigate behavior to search for hostile forces. Ooh. The attack area is great for building pressure on the player, whereas the defend area is to provide the player with a tough challenge as the AI are hunkered down and ready to fight. The implementation of this feature involved reusing existing systems in new ways, changing the tactical queries, positional, and target selection to take into consideration the attack or defend area that the AI may have, AI team. So yeah, this is something they mentioned in the Squad 42 monthly report, or the StarCitizen monthly report from last month as well, which is just more dynamic, making the AI more dynamic rather than just searching and fighting, having different behaviors depending on where they are, to kind of change that up a little bit. The AI team continued to develop the AI for a non-humanoid character, including work on a group behaviors and attack patterns. Now, this is the thing. In the past, someone said, "Oh, that's like a Vanduul or something else like that." It's most likely not a Vanduul. It could be a creature, though when they say creature, it usually means creatures. But when they say group behaviors and attack patterns, that almost certainly screams creatures, because they've been talking about working on a pack animal creature for a long time. So that's very similar. They also began developing characterful animations that evoke the real-world creature the creature is modeled after. Like wolves or bears or something, maybe? For example, as the creature fights in packs using melee attacks, the team must consider behaviors that space out the character movements in a natural way, partially so that the player doesn't get overwhelmed, but also so that the characters don't collide with one another when attacking. We have pack animals that'll attack us. Certain sections of Squadron 42 include AI fighting alongside the player, known as buddy AI, which they've been talking about for a while. They'll follow you, they'll defend you, they'll follow your orders, that kind of thing. Last month, the team developed functionality to control how the buddy plays in these sections, including following behind the player, moving to interest points, and seeking cover. For choosing points to follow behind the player, the team created a raycast along the navigation mesh to ensure that the point is reachable from the leader and that they can move forward without obstruction. That's pretty cool. AI tech. Late last year, AI tech completed the first iteration of NPCs driving ground vehicles. Last month, they fixed several related bugs as more designers began using the feature. They also progressed with a feature that enables NPCs to use the transit systems, like elevators, and move between platforms. This time, they focused on NPCs using trains to move between locations. This required exposing new functionality on the transit manager and more complex behaviors before and during transit. New functionality includes providing more information about the gateways at specific destinations and information about carriages, such as time spent at a destination and the time until arrival. On the locomotion side, the team added further support for soft stops, and separated them from the harsh stops. A soft stop means that the NPC will choose the best animation for stopping, even if it will overshoot its destination, while the harsh stop will stop immediately. Locomotion support was also given to bug fixing and alien creature movement. There's some kind of pack animal that's in Squadron 42 that is moving oddly, but is based off an actual real-world animal. It was using the Vandal logic at one point, too. And they've been mentioning and talking about this for several months now. This sounds like it's getting dialed in. Possibly for Squadron, almost certainly for Squadron, but possibly for Squadron, for Star Citizen as well. The Subsumption Apollo tool, the team progressed with implementing feedback and bug fixing. They also added a new functionality to the Subsumption master graph, making it possible to have functions on top of transitions to determine whether a state transition can be done. The usable coordinator was also completed, which allows for the designers to specify a selection of usables for NPCs in specific areas and prioritize the order of selection. The feature that allows NPCs to perceive threats through audio and visual stimuli and react to hostile vehicles was completed. In a related area, further updates were made to behavior that enables NPCs reacting to stimuli to enter combat. This is all mostly the same stuff that we heard with the Star Citizen stuff. AI Tech started to work on two new features. One allows overrides for navigation mesh generation, so that the team can create navigation meshes for specific agents in narrow areas. For example, this will enable NPCs to traverse areas where only crouch state is possible, such as vents and underfloor areas. The second feature enables the team to mark areas with increased navigation cost, which will influence the path chosen by NPCs. This will be used to create areas that NPCs should avoid, like areas with fire, or to encourage them to travel in specific areas, like a sidewalk. Yeah, it's all kind of the same stuff. AI vehicle features. The vehicle's features team focused on space combat AI improvements in January. The intent is to have combat AI behave in a more dynamic way that encourages players to move and explore the ship mechanics. This involved breaking the AI into different well-defined trees, which will help players identify what kind of enemies they're up against. These improvements also allow for the easier integration of more maneuvers to further increase the skill level and interest of high-level ships. Similarly, AI vehicle features worked on new behavior logic to deliver improved atmospheric flight control. This is intended to work with the control surface feature being developed by the vehicle feature team and will lead to AI ships tailing and chasing players to get behind them, flying more like a plane when appropriate in atmosphere. They also supported the flight designers on several chapters, adding new smaller features to ease their work when creating mission flow. Several flow block issues were fixed too. That's pretty cool. So they're improving the combat AI for ships and kind of making them more dynamic, so it's not just all of them the same. They're going to have different ways they fight, so you have to approach them in different ways. That's stuff that they've talked about in the past, though this seems to be more like how they're going to do it rather than just they're planning on it. Animation. The animation team began 2023 by making sure their schedule for reaching content complete was agreed upon, which meant aligning closely with up and downstream teams. Development-wise, further progress was made on Zero G, with devs using some of the lessons learned to help guide work on prone gameplay. They also continued to create new weapons and gadgets, including a trip mine, and worked on restraining and unrestraining. Animation's AI teams further developed the Vandal execution and searching behaviors, along with the female Spec Ops characters. They're also working on AI background animations related to eating and drinking, sickness, hygiene, and cargo for social areas. On the facial side, the Shakma character was worked on alongside lines for AI character combat. The mocap team worked with gameplay animation to schedule an upcoming shoot to keep the AI and player team supplied with assets. All right. So some stuff with 0G, content complete. That's an interesting term, content complete. So they are finished with their animation work for Squadron? Is that what it sounds like? Maybe they're just working on the schedule of what that is. All right. We're about to get to the engine section. I am not in any way like fluent in engine. I don't understand what they say. It's like a different language, because I'm sure it is. I am not an engine seer. I do not know the will of the Omnissiah. I am not a Starfleet engineer. I cannot turn rocks into leprechauns, into replicators. And I am not a Covenant engineer. I cannot disassemble and reassemble a electric vehicle by rote memory. I am but me, simple old bartender me. So I will read this. If you understand this engine speak, do please, in the comments below, explain the translation of what this actually means. If it's important or it's not, that'll help me know. In January, the physics team worked on triangle, vertex, and normal transforms for physics triangle meshes, which were written to use SSE/AVX, saving 30% of the cost. Furthermore, the physicalization method for ropes can now be chosen per rope entity. Again, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, that's just ropes. I don't know if this is ropes. I don't know if this is some sort of part of engine, but a lot of this just seems like optimization. On the renderer, various optimizations were implemented into Gen 12. Among other things, this includes performance improvements for transit lists, recording draw requests, a special submission for scene rendering with reduced thread synchronization, and a reduction of calls to the OS for general multi-threading purposes. Additionally, render initialization was refactored to prepare for Vulkan. Last month's Gen 12 support for particle refraction now also works as intended. On the core engine, further improvements were made to the remote shader compiler. Last month's work on adding support for huge pages was rolled out internally. Huge pages are now used within the low-level memory allocator, Gmalloc. To further reduce executable sizes of the Linux DGS, the gold linker is now utilized to fold identical functions and various compiler-generated data inside binaries. The page heap is now also supported for entities, which use a special allocator to make debugging memory corruptions easier. Lastly, more work was done to support version 2 of the PK4 files introduced at the end of last year in the internal development tools. Features gameplay. The gameplay features team worked on seamless transitions rather than camera cuts when moving between the player's view and cinematic sequences, both when piloting and a ship and walking around. That's very nice. One of the things I'm always concerned about with Squadron 42 is that it's going to be heavy on cinematics, and that can be jarring when you're transitioning from cinematics to gameplay again. It's not an easy, fluid kind of switch. The new field manual, quote-unquote, Mobiglass app progressed, which collates the tutorials players experienced during the game. Male and female voice selection was added to the application form. The progress on saving and loading was made. Now the team can save the replication layer and restore it, getting back to fundamentally the same state it was left in, including the correct scripted mission module. A lot of general edge cases were fixed too. So we've got kind of a manual for the app that will let you go back and look at other tutorials. They have the option to choose your voice selection, which is nice, and they've gotten basic save modules to work. They've had basic save working in the past, but they wanted to use the PES system to do saves because they wanted to use as much of Star Citizen's technology as possible in Squadron. So PES is their save game function. They've mentioned that in the past. Which will not save it to the cloud, it'll save it to your computer, but it's complicated, it's all offline. But it effectively turns everything that's an online function for Star Citizen is like an internal computer function. Last we heard, it could have changed, but CIG has not made that statement. So I'd love to hear more about that in the future, if that has changed or not. Numerous star map improvements were made, including better transitions between the real and cosmetic scaling as it zoomed in and out, correct grid movement when panning, improved culling when objects intersect, and correctly sized and aligned text labels. That's a world of difference compared to what we have now. General iteration following feedback was also made to the application form, character customizer, armorer interaction, Armory Terminal, and Mission Manager app. All right. Features vehicle. January saw the vehicle features team improving numerous aspects of vehicle combat, including ship and weapons balance. Tweaks were also made to the HUD and aiming and targeting to further improve the combat experience. Vehicle features also began working on radar, having taken it over from the Arena Commander feature team to support the needs for Squadron 42. Recent work included adding various features to support of the new scanning UI and multifunction displays, MFDs. That's interesting. So we're getting new radar, we're getting new scanning technology, which they've talked about in the past of doing new scanning modes. And, of course, MFDs, which are a big thing. Now, I've had a theory, and I could be wrong, which is I believe that they are going to use the MFDs as sort of modular segments, which you can use for your HUD. That may be not the case. They may it may be an internal tool for the MFDs, but they've mentioned that they're making a new HUD and that it's based heavily on how they're making the MFDs. So here's to hoping. But also, new scanning UI and multifunction, which are both very important, radar, which are both very important for Star Citizen. Hopefully we get those in soon, but they got to make them in Squad 42 first. The quantum travel rework is nearing completion. Last month, the team completed quantum spawning, which allows for them to spawn AI ships as though they are in quantum travel, as they quantum travel into the area. Finally! This is the last feature required to widely use quantum travel in various chapters. Oh, so no more just randomly blinking out and blinking out of existence or just existing. You can actually see them, instead of spawning, you'll see them coming out of quantum. That's nice. UI was also worked on throughout the month. The MFD progressed well, with the team working through numerous technical issues in the UI system. They also fleshed out the new MFD control system, which is designed to be used with keys or a gamepad rather than interaction mode. If that's not a symbol for CIG is planning on this being compatible with consoles, I don't know what is. That may be a hot take that people will be upset about, but I'll explain. I've always had a theory that Squad 42 is designed to be able to be ported to consoles, but it's designed to be released to PCs first and then ported to consoles afterwards. Because that's just leaving money on the table, especially if someone will want to pick it up. It's especially if it does really well on PC, it's pretty easy to sell that kind of idea to a console. So. The HUD is being reworked and integrated heavily with the new MFD system. See, that's the second mention of it, that the HUD and the MFD are the same, that they're being worked integrated. My hope is that we have modular UI. It'd be nice to be able to have, different things like my engine status, my shield status, the enemy location, how much ammo I have left, the status of my ship, all being able to customize my HUD to be able to know where those things are. Similar to most MMOs we have. that'd be nice to kind of do that, but we'll see. Gameplay story. Last month, Gameplay Story used the new mocap data across multiple chapters and scenes, including creating new animations for Chapter 18 to allow the characters to end the scene in a more realistic way, as well as giving them longer end idles. The new mocap also helped helped a scene in Chapter 14, where the character holds a datapad in the wrong hand. Now they now transition from walking with the datapad into the scene seamlessly. A scene was also fixed in Chapter 8 to allow a character to holster their datapad correctly. Changes were made to Chapter 14, following feedback about wanting character to be able to react if the player followed them down the hallway. Not only can they now turn, deliver a line, and continue walking, they can trigger scenes that start up a conversation with the player. This is done by shooting new mocap to give the character more life and the ability to glance around and realize the player is there. That's cool. Now, based off of what I know, that's not uncommon. That sort of interaction, those little small interactions, which seem kind of like, what if I just follow this person around? If they'll react, they actually will. In Squadron, like they're all designed to do that. You stare at someone long enough, they're gonna go, "What are you looking at me for?" Like, you know, sometimes they might go, "Something wrong with me?" This is based off of audio lines that I've heard, that they have those sort of reaction lines. So, be interesting to see. Polish passes were made to various scenes to get them to a much higher standard. One in Chapter 12 required using a previously made animation and altering it through a combination of hand keying and mocap to create a completely new piece where the character delivers their own lines to the player and encourages them to catch up. Okay. Several scenes were also improved by changing how the character interacts with the console. This was made more believable following a pass in their hands and fingers, so they appear to be pressing the keys or typing. Gameplay Story also experimented with the Look At feature for a scene in Chapter 4, as testers had flagged that the characters don't seem to be looking at the player. We chose to do a full pass on both characters and managed to push the Look At to allow them to involve the player in the conversation and make them feel included. We have hit the start of the new year running and are delivering lots of high-quality work at a very good pace. Gameplay Story team. And very interesting. Level design. Last month, the Space and Dogfight team continued to develop the gameplay experience with the aim of having all dogfighting flow seamlessly from social and FPS selections. Again, this is for those people who haven't been following this. The gameplay is designed in 3 different major modes. They have FPS, they have space combat or space/combat, and social. They each are their own modes, and they are designed to be flow one into the other, but they're being built as 3 separate areas. So there will be entire sections of the game where you're just on the Stanton, or just on a ship, or on the platform, and you're going out and doing social stuff where you're talking with people. If you've played a Chris Roberts game, this is not unusual. This is very traditional for like Wing Commander or any of the other places having a big social aspect. Being social on the ship is as much a part of the game as the combat is, to learn the different characters and the other people you're around. So, all right. They also integrated a new features and the AI improvements as they came online, and worked with the vehicle feature team on new flight mechanics, such as quantum boost and the atmospheric flight model. We'll talk about that. Narrative. Narrative started the year with reviews alongside the design team. With placeholder dialogue being implemented in-game for the additional content generated last year, it's important to playtest and evaluate the adjusted experience before recording the final release quality version with professional actors. No offense to the amazing performances from the team members who volunteered to record placeholder content. Narrative team. Ouch! Ouch! The team is currently finalizing the mocap schedule with a breakdown of what's ready to be recorded and what is still needs fine-tuning. So I think that helps us answer some questions. We may see something, we may see like various actors who are pretty big name actors come back to do pickup lines for Squadron 42 at some point. So be interesting to see that. Team is currently finalizing mocap schedule with a breakdown of what's ready to be recorded and what still needs fine-tuning. Another focus for January was the game's assorted collectibles and discoverable narrative content, including messages that players will find if they explore areas and interact with datapads and terminals. Part of this process consists of chapter-by-chapter walkthroughs to ensure the content is appropriately paced. Additionally, the team outlined new personal comms messages the player will receive throughout the campaign from various characters. While some messages in the main game flow had already been written, the team wanted to expand them to provide even more narrative content that will tie into the player's actions and decisions. So we're just going to get like random messages from people we've saved or interacted with. That's kind of cool. I mean, other games have done that, but that's an interesting kind of addition. Finally, Narrative worked with the core gameplay pillar design team to create detailed reviews of interactive terminals that players will use for things like puzzle solving and navigating. The Narrative team is helping to ensure that the language used on the displays is not only clear and concise, but thematically appropriate for the universe. Very cool. So yeah, that's pretty good. It's a lot of the idea of having collectibles and discoverable narrative content either means that they have some downtime or they're pretty far along on the narrative side of things. A lot of this stuff seems to be more incidental, small additional stuff to really kind of enhance the experience more. So that seems to indicate that at least Narrative's job is mostly done with the big stuff. They're just kind of doing some more of the side stuff. UI. The UI tech team added new debugging tools to help them manage building blocks alongside a new array of widgets to speed up their workflow. The star map progressed visually, with the team adding several elements to help the navigation and completing a polish pass. Alongside concepting visual improvements for various parts of the game, including radial menus, the UI art and design team shifted focus to work on functional UI. Several of the game teams began creating complex scenes based on concepts, which were returned to the UI tech team to ensure the interactions look and feel good. They also tweaked some of the crosshairs to improve the combat experience and continued to develop the looks of two more manufacturer-specific vehicle UIs. Okay, so they're starting to do some manufacturer-specific UIs while also working on the new general one. So, And finally, VFX. Last month, VFX continued to work on locations, collaborating closely with art and design. The particle library overhaul mentioned in last month's report was completed, allowing for the team to turn their efforts towards making sure all locations benefit from these improvements moving forward. Elsewhere, the team continued to tweak and refine the new quantum travel effects. All right, so this is a little bit lighter than, say, the Star Citizen monthly report, and a lot of it is repeated. We can pull a couple of things, that the UI is getting kind of a full overhaul, that the narrative team seems to be done with the main bulk of the story, and they're working on some of the more side stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean they don't have more bulk stuff done or to do. This may just be a time that they have available for it. But it could mean that they're done with that main narrative. The level design continuing to work, especially with the atmospheric flight model and the quantum boost stuff, which continue to work. They did a lot of stuff with scenes to kind of clean up the scenes. A lot of this stuff is polish. A lot of this stuff seems more polish and design rather than actual building out features, which is, I think, a good sign. We also see reworking of the scanning mode as well as MFDs. We're looking at new kind of Mobiglass apps and some more like save game features, choosing your characters. A lot of stuff that seems incidental rather than necessary. Well, I know a lot of people will believe, like, well, my character customization is important. It is important, but in terms of making sure that the game works, that's not as important. So they're starting to do that now, which at least seems to be pointing that they're in a downside, or they're on the back end of an alpha. They're moving towards that kind of initial version done, time to polish sort of situation. Animation was working, again, kind of cleaning up some stuff. We have some AI logic behaviors. A lot of this is the same stuff as what we've seen with Star Citizen. Attack, defend, grenades. And then, of course, hygiene and medical behaviors, as well as making sure they're actually using equipment. So it seems very light this month, but also a lot more detail, polish focused rather than good features. It could mean really good things down the line. We'll have to wait until February's monthly report to see if there's more meaty stuff, because it could also just be it's January and a light team, maybe not everyone's back. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit. If it does, let me know in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on any of these topics in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. Join us live Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub or youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive to join in the discussion for any of these. We do this on Thursdays, so love to see you here. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. I realized I should have, what I should have done was I should have had this in the background. Hold on. I'll do this for the Squadron 42 and going forward, but I should have had this. The Squadron 42 music. I'll do that in the future. What do y'all think? I'm doing the countdown because I have to, like, I will end and I'll cut it to the end screen, but I'll have the music keep playing in the background, that kind of stuff. So, so I'm thinking 2024. It feels like 2024, 2025 to me. But I've had that feeling before, so I could be entirely wrong. It's also a single player. It may not be much. It may be much easier to port than the PU. Oh, almost certainly. I don't know how video games work, but in film and TV, this is what we call a dick move. Okay, they used staff to record scratch instead of union voice actors. Record scratch. Well, not necessarily union voice actors. I think they're still going to pull union voice actors in, but they're doing the initial kind of block throughs to make sure it works before they get to that. I think we need to remember that they are far from optimized game code. They are, that's true. And it can take time to do optimized game code, but if they reach a beta status where they're done with alpha and they're into beta, that's a huge deal. That's a huge announcement. So, because that's at least, 1 year away from release, one to 1.5 years. I don't think that current or more likely legacy consoles are capable of running Star Citizen. Well, we're talking about Squadron 42, not Star Citizen. CIG loves money, so they can get in console, they will. I think CIG just likes money so they can stay open. I don't think CIG is sitting there going, yeah, I want all of the money. It's not yay. There's no board members There's no investors to appease. I think they're talking about server processors, so stuff like dumb AI. I hope they move the video pop-ups to your HUD instead of an MFD. That'd be nice. I wonder how far along on visors and utilizing them for various modes on helmets like combat modes and such. That's got to be connected to the HUD. The first paragraph was on an engine section, which has to do with integrating Vulkan and Gen 12. That's what it felt like. At least it sounded like it. Huge passes are memory management. I think the server-side stuff, increasing the server tick rate. Threading has to do with how information is fed to the processor. Triangulation has to do with graphics. Yeah, because it's all that we see is triangles. That's what we're seeing. Instead of pixels, we're seeing triangles with 3D animation stuff. Here's some of those other ones. Pack animals? I'm thinking whales. Could imagine this is due. Well, probably not the storm walls because they were talking about pretty big ones. So 142 music is great. You definitely should highlight it. I should be able to do it more often. A lot of the time, first voice actors. A lot of the time, first voices in the game for TTS are TTS. Yeah, touch to speaks. But you know, they also want to go for emotion and inflection, which TTS doesn't do very well. They're doing detailed polishing and side stuff, and have announced CitizenCon over 6 months ahead in LA, Squadron 42 2024. Almost, I mean, yes, but yeah. Only investors to worry about are the Calders, but that money was earmarked for advertising. Plus, if I recall correctly, they're family friends to the Roberts to a degree, and they're mostly interested in Squadron, which, you know, makes sense. Looking forward to show this weekend with the whole crew. Don't know about you. I am. I'm looking forward to it. How you doing, X? Do you think we'll see another vertical slice this year? I hope so. If we saw an announcement with another vertical slice with like actual gameplay for Squadron 42 at CitizenCon, I would be overjoyed. Because here's the thing. I know CIG has vertical slices. They have mentioned at least 3 vertical slices in these monthly reports in the past. 3. Bringing several chapters up to vertical slice quality. So it's like, seeing all the mentions of the star map makes me so happy. They're definitely like on the polished side of the star map, which again, we're probably not going to see the star map in Star Citizen until the end of the year, but that's a good sign. So why haven't we seen them? I have no fucking clue. Like, it's confused the shit out of me as to why CIG has put time and effort into making vertical slice quality presentations mentioned in their monthly reports and not shown them to us. It's like, why? Like, people would shut the fuck up if you just released those. Do you think the star map will be anything like the star map in the RSI website? That's what they said they based it off of. They said they based the design off of the star map. And I would like to take credit for it. I'm sure it's not just me. But I know I'm the one who continually talked about how that was an award-winning star map and they still haven't touched it. Because if you don't know, that star map won awards. It won tech awards for like how innovative and how complex the whole thing was. Like, legitimately award-winning star map. They have that, but they still have this garbage placeholder stuff that we're still using. I'm feeding my face, so I'm great. If we all get if all we get this year's star map, I'd be okay. We're gonna get more than that though. They want to have the moment when they finally show Squadron 42 complete. I know they do. It's just, this is not the same kind of, they're not in a traditional gaming development side of things, because they've already admitted that a lot of the money is going to Squadron 42 development. And a lot of backers, I think, have the right and are rightfully justified in going, why am I paying for the development of a game I didn't pay for? Now, to a degree, this is standard practice. There are plenty of developers who release a game or make a game, even in early access, as ways of raising money for other games they want to make. Goat Simulator is a fantastic example of that. Goat Sim was designed as a game that they made as a means to make enough money so that they could fund another game they wanted to make. Yeah, that's true. There's a tech that makes the star map is not translatable to the game. I'm sure, but it took them years to finally get to that point. I'll get out there, Northern Trooper. Is the star map waiting on the scanning rework? No, the scanning rework is being worked at the same time as the star map. They even mentioned it in this monthly report that they're working on it with the UI and the HUD and the radar. So the radar is getting overhauled, the scanning tech is getting overhauled, all of that stuff's getting overhauled alongside the new star map. What game did Goatsim help out with? It's a good question. It was developed by Coffee Stain Studios. Now, Coffee Stain is actually pretty famous. Do you know what Coffee Stain also made? Satisfactory. Yeah. They also made Valheim, Midnight Ghost Hunt, and Rockin' Stone. They're still making Satisfactory and Rockin' Stone. Deep Rock Galactic, baby. And Sanctum, and Super Sanctum, Sanctum 2, Hunt Down. To the bone. I like how that's the response. That's a response. Did I hear Rockin' Stone? Rockin' Stone. To the bone. I mean, it's not my wheelhouse to be fair with Valheim, but and Deep Rock Galactic was published by them. I think it was made by somebody else. Ghost Ship Games is developed by Ghost Ship Games. I have a bit of a history with them. They actually gave me a nice little care package, which hold on, I'll be right back. It's one of my most prized possessions. Ghost Ship Games sent that to me, so. They sent this, like, it's cool as shit. Like, it's really well made too. It's like laser engraved or something like that. It's not a sticker. Good, yeah. So yeah, I actually helped them demonstrate the game for the first time online. When it was first shown off at GDC, I was one of the play. They didn't have enough people to play the game, so I hopped on, helped them. They pulled me on because I was playing it earlier. So, as a thank you, they sent me the mug. So I have the reputation. My claim to fame is that I played the game for the first time to the public, for public viewing. Can't remember who I played. I think I played the engineer. Oh, the scout. I played the scout. As a thank you, they sent you the redeemer. I don't know why I don't play enough of it. I should just start playing it with like a community night. Just do it when especially when we have like the lulls. After 318's released, before 319 comes out. Some Deep Rock Galactic. It was just pure luck. They needed somebody. I had already played the game a couple of times. Because I was help testing it out, so as a scout man, you just got a lot cooler. It's an amazing game. I remember the developers were there, and when we were playing with the developers, the developers all noticed that all the players did the same thing that the developers were doing, which was we all took we found out that the barrels were interactable, and we all kicked the barrels into the middle like chamber. And when we started doing that, they said they fucking did it too. And they explained that like that's what their testers were always doing. Whenever they first booted it up, they would just kick all the barrels into the main chamber. Now, did I know what I was doing? No, I had no idea what I was doing when I was playing it, but that is my claim to fame, which is I was there with three other developers and myself. I was the only non-developer to play it. If you really want to torture yourself on community night, you should turn on the Twitch integration. Oh, that sounds terrible. Man, I wish we'd have destructible planets. They have that in the merch store? They don't. They just have the golden loot bug. It's plushy. So yeah, they sent me this with some rock candy. So that was nice, a nice little ad. I was sad I didn't get a t-shirt or anything like that, but I was like this is a lot cooler than a t-shirt. It's still your fault, Fair Assault, that I got that Redeemer. You're the one who pushed that idea. Reading that comment makes me angry, Fair Assault. Makes me angry. All right, y'all. I think this is going to be it for us tonight. I may or may not be coming on the stream tomorrow. It really depends on if CIG releases it to wide PTU or not. Almost certainly, I probably will for at least a little bit because we'll watch Star Citizen live together. And then Saturday is going to be weird because Saturday I thought we were going to have Ollie, but Ollie, I didn't work it out right and I haven't heard back from him. So I'm going to have to figure out who I'm going to get. I'm going to scramble to try to get some people to talk for Captain's Table. But I will be definitely hanging out with the Info Runners guys, because we're going to be doing our big yearly we rate and tier list all of the ships in game. So we're going to be doing a big clusterfuck of that for all of us talking about it. So, and then Sunday again, we'll depend on a lot of other things. But we'll try to do some more community stuff if it's functioning and or multi-crew or available. We'll do some more exploration of the like relic expeditions and such to kind of explore those areas. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Love your faces. I will be back again, as I said, tomorrow for sure. But keep an eye out because I actually do have a new video for the Astro Historian, which will go up on Saturday, which is on the lore ships of Star Citizen. It'll be available for my Patreons tomorrow, and then for everyone else will get it on Saturday. And I'm recording a Lore Citizen podcast on Friday, and the next chapter of the complete history of Star Citizen universe is already been recorded. It's been edited. We're waiting for what are we waiting for? We're waiting for some fixes, and then the New Soul is making music for it. So that should be out. I have no idea how long New Soul is going to take. I can't imagine it's more than a couple of weeks. So at the very latest, it'll be out in 2 weeks. But we've got two videos coming up there. So. What's the takeaway from potential new player with very casual interest in Star Citizen? 318 is a decoration patch or heavy meat and potatoes? Absolutely heavy meat and potatoes. There is brand new things with 318. Render Goblin. There are there's salvage. There's the new like the way we do. I want to say inventory, but that's wrong. Cargo has completely been reworked. They've completely reworked the entire back-end system to function, so there's going to be more persistence. The game is they've added a bunch of new locations. They've added new missions. It's pretty meat and potatoes. It is definitely not decorations or fixed, so. Not just heavy meat potatoes. They're changing the dishes they're serving on those plates. But yeah, the entire tableware. The table has been snapped in half and thrown away, and they're bringing out a brand new table to set the whole freaking plate on. That's what they're doing. They dropped another PGU patch? Damn. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining us. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.